It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app on a Vibe Check Tuesday. And I got to say, Anthony, the vibes are immaculate musically to start the show. Excellent work out of you. The vibes are anything but immaculate in the Commanders universe. Unfortunately, that seems to be very, very true.
You are not telling any lies. Yeah.
So, first of all, for those that are new to the program or need a reminder, the phone number on the Ace Law listener line is 301, 310 get connected to someone in California. 301-230-0980. That's the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. You call 8888 Ace Law. That's if you're in a wreck. If you just want to call the radio show, it's 301-230-0980. We take your calls for the entire hour. We get your vibe on the team, where blame should go, where credit should go, anything you want in terms of how you're feeling about the Washington Commanders. But I would like to start the show with a point of clarification, because on Mondays after games, emotions run high, and even though I'm not going to change anything that I said yesterday during 1st and 10, I feel it's important to clarify a few things so that I ensure that people hear what I'm saying, which is the point of communication. It's not about what I say. It's about what people ultimately take in. And also to make sure that everyone doesn't think I'm an idiot, which I care deeply about, very on a deeply personal level. I started off the show yesterday in 1st and 10 saying that the number one reason why the Commanders lost is Sam Howell had a really bad game. That is still true. I then talked about the reasons why, the throws he missed, the missed protection calls, the mental mistakes, the physical mistakes, all of it. All that stuff happened. There's just no denying it. And in fact, later in the show, we're going to go through pretty much the entire first half, and I'll go play by play and tell you where the mistakes were made. And I think what happened was when I did that, and of course, because, we know what we're doing. Like, we want you to click on the stuff that we do. People are like, oh, it's clickbait. Now, clickbait is when you say something like, I don't know, are there aliens on planet Earth? And it's like, no, there is no evidence of aliens on planet Earth. Like, that's clickbait. I said what turned out to be a juicy headline, admittedly, which is that the number one reason the Commanders lost is because Sam Howell had a bad game. And some people even watched some of that or listened to some of that, and then it's like they rage quit, Madden style. But the segment's called 1st and 10, and number 2 was about Eric Bieniemy and the play calling and how that could have worked. And we talked at different points in the show about how bad the offensive line was. And so my point of clarification today is merely to say that the offensive line was also terrible on Sunday are largely terrible on Sunday, and that if you did not take that out of yesterday's show, I apologize for not being more vociferous in voicing that, but I'm not a complete idiot who thinks that the offensive line actually was awesome. Now, I realize also why people think that is because people think that the offensive line has been terrible all year, and that's where I just can do nothing but tell you that they haven't been. Sunday was different. Sunday was the worst game the offensive line played all year, and there's a multitude of reasons for that, and that doesn't mean they're responsible for every protection breakdown. And I think the other disconnect between the analysis from yesterday, which I dove in even deeper to today and watching some more things, some things for the 3rd and 4th times. We recorded Take Command film review this morning, so that's always really enlightening in what Logan sees when he watches the tape with his eye. But the other disconnect seems to be, I think a lot of people are focused on the sacks. And of the 6 sacks, there's really one that's mostly Sam's fault. It's the one where Pinnock, the DB, comes off the edge. Like, and honestly, I can't even for sure say it's Sam's fault because I don't know what protection calls are available to him at the line of scrimmage. But you'd have to think, based off what the Giants were showing pre-snap, that they would slide the line that way because it's a clear and obvious blitzer to anyone who has played that position and played offensive football or knows enough, even my level, to be like, oh, what do you look for when you get to the line of scrimmage? How do you know who's coming when all those dudes are standing there? One of the things you look for is like, okay, if they're blitzing, it's probably man-to-man behind it. So which defenders are lined over which of my receiving targets? And Pinnock, the DB for New York, is lined up over nobody. And it's like, well, he's not there to play coverage on anyone. He's there because he's coming to kill me. And they left him unblocked. And yeah, Sam had like 0.9 seconds to throw on that one, or whatever the actual number was. It's probably like 1.2. But not enough time to even reach the back of his drop because you have a lightning fast DB coming off the edge unblocked. Yeah, like that's no chance, but it's Sam setting himself up on that one. The other 5 sacks, O-line. I guess 4 of the 5, but there's one on Logan Thomas where he blocks the man who actually has him in man-to-man. I think that was one of them. Maybe that was a pressure. Anyway, point is, the sacks, 5 of the 6 of them are on the protection, not on Sam. Maybe the first one he could have gotten the ball out, like if the super elite quarterbacks find a way, but most quarterbacks in the league take a sack there. And the other ones, he doesn't have much of a chance. And that's fine. But there's more. If they ran 68 plays or whatever they ran, like, that's 6. The rest of the plays, there's plenty of good pockets. And there's some bad routes. And there's some drops. And there's some bad throws. And there's some missed reads. And EB could have gotten to certain things sooner. And I still don't understand the lack of screen game. And I guess my point is this. When you score 7 points against the New York Giants, or you score 7 points against the 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, whatever it is, there is going to always be a multitude of factors, which makes for hellaciously boring radio because if I just say, I don't know, it's all multifactorial, I don't have much of a show. So what I try to do is distill it down into digestible pieces to say, hey, the biggest factor is this. We can look at any given play, and maybe this, in this case, Sam Howell, had nothing to do with that particular play going wrong, which could or could not be a key play in the game. But on the whole, the biggest number of plays on Sunday go awry because of mistakes from your young quarterback. The second biggest reason is the execution of the offensive line. The third biggest reason is probably the play calling. The fourth biggest reason is the execution of the playmakers themselves. Sometimes they all went wrong on the same play. There's a play where they go empty. This is one we'll look at later. They go empty. So it's Sam, no one in the backfield with him. And it should have been a squeeze protection. It's like the one mistake that Leno makes mentally on the day, non-penalty category, because, God, they were terrible in that regard. But, like, Leno should have squeezed a little bit faster. Sam can make a better throw, and John Bates can run a better route. All true on the same play. Whose fault is that? All of them. Because if any one of them does their thing a little bit better, you probably overcome the other 2 mistakes, and you get something. So, like, that is the nature of football. There are 22 dudes on the field, all who have an impact. The quarterback by nature, and this is another thing to point out in terms of context, the quarterback by nature has a bigger outsized impact on each play because he has the ball and decides what happens with it on every single play, sans handoff, and even on handoffs, like, he could still screw it up. And that's why I said what I said. I don't want to change what I said. It's not because I won't change my mind on things if new data becomes available. I'm not Skip Bayless 20 years into LeBron's career still trying to convince you he's not that good. That's not who I am. I hate people who do that way in terms of how they do the job. That's ridiculous. But I don't think I was wrong, but I also understand why people are super upset. Some of it is confirmation bias. They don't want Sam to be bad. I'm telling you the thing that you have hope about is actually maybe not as worthy of your hope as you had thought. So it's a turn from some of the other stuff this year where Sam's been really good. It's one game. But I also can come back and see the the violence of the reaction and go, a lot of these angry comments are mad about me not saying something that I actually said 5 minutes later. So that's how I'm starting today with the vibe check. Is I'm hoping that as a show community, we can have a little bit healthier vibe than my Twitter mentions and my YouTube comments over the last 24 hours. At the end of the day, like, I knew it was coming, but I'm not doing a good job of being a host the way I think the job should be done if I don't come back and say, hey, I hear you guys. You're not crazy. The offensive line was also bad. Bieniemy could have been better, even if the biggest culprit yesterday or Sunday was the young quarterback at the end. It's not all on him. And that's the other thing. It's never all on one person. It's not all on Sam. I never said it was all on Sam, but that is how some people took it. So, alas, the summation of all of this, it's not all on Sam. A lot of other people had really bad days. Some of that's offensive line. Some of that's coaching. Sam did have a really bad day. And that's how you score 7 points in an NFL football game. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Now we get to your calls and the vibe check. 301-230-0980. Next, Vibe Check Tuesday underway on the Ace Law listener line. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It is a Vibe Check Tuesday on the Ace Law listener line, 301-230-0980, 301-230-0980. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. Let's get it going. What's your vibe on the Commanders after that on Sunday? / what other questions may you have about this here football team? Let's start off with Lynnell. Lynnell, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. Lynnell, you're on the radio. All right, Anthony, let's see what's going on with Lynnell. I'll go on to the next call, and we'll try to get back to it. Let's go to Andy. Andy, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, thanks. I love the show. I listen to it every day coming home. But
Appreciate it.
I think the sentiment and the perspective that you provide with regards to your 1st and 10 with Hoffman, not with Hoffman. I'm sorry, with Howell. Excuse me. It's spot on. And I go with the Q-tip mentality. Quit taking it personally. Like, if we're going to give Sam Howell just a little bit of pushback here with regards to his play, but also, respectively, put it on everybody else, like the offensive line, the coaching, whatever. That's just a great way to lay it out there. And that's all I want to say. I really appreciate, the entire perspective and the holistic approach that you have to his performance this weekend, because that really is what it is. And I thank you for taking my call. Love the show. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. That's very kind. I just try to do the job by telling you what I see. And I've been lucky enough to be around some really smart people and who's taught me how to see a lot of the right stuff. And I'm also a pretty gray area type of person when it comes to this stuff. Like, it's not black and white. It's just, that's not football. We were talking on Sunday, and Logan just goes, man, football is the consummate team game. And there are times where, another good example of this is the last play that they have offensively, which most people would categorize, and I would say in terms of order of operations, I would also characterize as the Jahan drop. The biggest mistake that's made on that play, where Jahan drops the ball for what would have been a first down and possibly a touchdown to tie the game and send it to overtime, assuming that the extra point's not blocked, because they had a 27-yarder blocked earlier in the day, is on Jahan. It's not a great ball, but it's a very catchable ball. You're an NFL wide receiver. You're a former first-round pick a year ago. You're known for having great hands. Catch the bleeping ball. And you know what? I don't say that to be hot takey. If Jahan is talking amongst friends or to someone that he trusts, he's probably I got to catch the bleeping ball. He used the exact same language. So I don't say that pejoratively. That's Jahan's got to catch the freaking football. But there's a mistake in protection. I don't know whether that was a Sam mistake or whether that was someone else's mistake. But remember, that play starts with Sam having to spin out of a sack. But then after he does that, he throws a bad ball. It's not a good ball. And by the way, if he can keep his head up and a little bit more composure, Logan Thomas is wide open in the end zone. It's not a bad decision by Sam to throw to Jahan. It's just not the best decision. And those are the kinds of nuance that if you want to be right about the analysis of this sport, you have to understand there are levels. Another one earlier in the game, also to Jahan, where he throws it. It's a bad ball to where Jahan, it looks like he's covered. Really, though, there's a ton of space out in front of Jahan. If Sam throws a better ball, that's a completion to Dotson for a big first down against a blitz on a 3rd down. It's not a bad decision. It's a bad ball. But it's also not the best decision because Terry's one-on-one, and he beats the corner bad. And that's their 3rd corner. It's Terry one-on-one against the nickel. And by the way, remember, Adoree Jackson's out of this game, so that's really their 4th corner. So you have Terry on a good Terry matchup, and if you throw to Terry, it's probably a completion, and it also solves the, hey, Terry needs the ball more problem. So these are compounding issues that all come into play, and I don't say that to be muddy. It's just when you score 7 points, a lot of stuff went wrong. It's going to be muddy. Let's keep going let's go see if we got Little back. Little, thanks for holding. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, Hoff, thank you for taking my call.
You got it.
I make a quick dip real quick. Hey, look, man, let me ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So you telling me when Sam at the line of scrimmage, he don't know how to audible out of the situation when you see that blitz looking right at him?
So this is a tough question to answer because I don't know if he doesn't know how he does, or he doesn't have the freedom to, or like what level of freedom he has. I for sure know he doesn't have what Peyton Manning used to have, where Peyton could call basically the entire offense at the line of scrimmage with every protection, everything. I don't know whether Sam has like limited slides he can do, limited whatever, but it's pretty basic, the level of control that he has. Of course, like you need to properly, within the call that you have, identify the blitzers and things like that. So there are some things that are just like standard quarterbacking that he has to do at the line of scrimmage, and I think some of those things he didn't do it well in key spots on Sunday. But it's a good question that I don't have a clear answer to in terms of exactly what kind of audibles and freedom he has.
It's kind of confusing to me because if he was in the shocker, he should have called an audible to a quarterback draw. He should have.
But I would guarantee you he doesn't have that freedom.
Right, but this is the kind of stuff I'm saying with this young quarterback. I don't think he's a quarterback for this team, to be honest, man. He got a strong arm, but he don't see the field good. And guess what he don't do? There's something I give Heineke credit. Heineke had more anticipation. Heineke know how to sit, how to throw that ball into a spot where he think a receiver is going to be there. That's something that Heineke ain't got his arm strength like Howell.
Well, right, but Taylor was also in his 7th year in the league.
Right, but when he get that down, when he start anticipating a little bit better, Howell might be a good call. I don't think he's a quarterback for this team, to be honest, man, because guess what? That scenario you just say played out, you look for your big target when you're down there. He's supposed to be looking for Logan off the bat. Logan came clean, wide open.
Yeah, but he also these are like this is the nonsense that I don't want to get into. Like the first thing that happens on that play is he spins out of an immediate pressure sack, which again might have been his fault. I don't know what the protection situation was there. I actually want to go back. Anthony, if you can remind me, I want to go back and watch that from the end zone angle in the break. Just remind me on that one, and I'll have a note on it on the other side of the commercial. But, a more veteran quarterback might do that. But there are growing pains that you're willing to learn, or you're willing to grow with Sam, because he does have a great arm, and he does throw a really nice deep ball, and he does do some really special stuff that like Taylor Heineke can't do in his dreams. And all the stuff that Taylor does, Sam can learn how to do. Like you can learn to throw with more anticipation when you start to understand the rhythm and timing of an NFL offense at NFL speeds. He's still 8 games into his career. Don't forget, Peyton Manning set the NFL rookie record at the time for interceptions his first year. He was awful as a rookie, but the Colts lived with it because he was Peyton Manning. Now, I think the questions we need to start asking are, what of these problems are never going to change, are existential almost in nature and within the context of Sam? Like, I think some of the issues are caused by his height. I think some of the vision stuff is he doesn't see. I think some of the reasons that EB might not be going to the screen game as much as some of us want to is because Sam has trouble throwing the ball over a defensive end. Like, there's just realistic stuff. I mean, the pick, it took me 5 times watching it, but I think I'm finally been convinced that ball was tipped. If Sam's 2 inches taller, it's not tipped. Like, Leonard Williams gets a pretty standard hand up, and only because that is the maximum extension of Sam's arm does that ball get tipped. Every other quarterback in the league is able to throw that ball over Leonard Williams at the line of scrimmage. Or Dexter, I think it was Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence, not Leonard Williams on that particular one. But same thing. Like, that outstretched arm should not affect that throw. It did, because he's 5'11". And so there are certain issues that I have concerns about long term. But I think there is a lot of good stuff in there. I think another concern I have right now with Howell is that was the first time I felt like he was spooked. I wonder where his confidence is going into this week. I do feel like it's been on a bit of a downward turn since the Chicago game. So how does EB ultimately find the things to make him comfortable moving forward? And maybe that's putting more on his plate in certain situations. Like it's not putting more on his plate, but like giving him more tools. Let him call a QB draw in a certain situation. Let him have more audibles available. He's definitely a smart guy, but I think they had a lot of that stuff in during training camp, and it has not made it to the regular season, which tells us something about how it went in training camp and how comfortable Sam is with some of the motions and the shifts and some of the things you see in Kansas City that you do not see here in Washington. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's a Vibe Check Tuesday, and we're taking more of your calls next. Nothing like a commercial break film study to remind you of the pain you felt on Sunday. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, can you see this? Can you see this screen up here?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're gonna quickly run through this last play, and then we'll get back to the phones on a Vibe Check Tuesday. But like, I don't know if you just saw it. Watch Charles Leno before this play. I gotta let this run because Game Pass is brutal and doesn't let me do this by the thing. So 10 seconds worth. Look at right here. Charles Leno literally points at Isaiah Simmons. It's like, that dude is blitzing. And you let it run, and sure enough, here comes Isaiah Simmons. But I think Sam knows that because he fades. He's like, oh, here you come. And then he spins out of it. That's a catchable ball. Yeah. Not a great ball, but definitely catchable and also frustrating because, as mentioned, oh, my God. One, he could probably run, and he might get there and press this line of scrimmage more. But I understand he's trying to throw Jahan early. If you throw it there, Also, if you just run that out a little bit, that guy's wide open. That's Logan Thomas. That would have been sweet. Alas, Jahan drops it. There's your ball game. So, again, it's a multi-thing play. Jahan, catch the football. Sam, a couple of things you could probably do to make it better. And they probably could have slid the protection or done something different. Like they could have kept Gibson in on that play. Like that's probably as a veteran quarterback might go, let me change the protection and put Gibson in. Hey, Antonio, slide over here. You got this blitzer over there. That's something that like Kirk used to do with Chris Thompson. Be like, yep, you got that guy. But Sam knows it's coming or sees it coming and spins out of it, and then he tries to make a play and John drops it. Like that's a multifactorial. If any of those things go right, play. We're talking about potentially an overtime win for the Commanders and a lot of ugly football, but in a win, and it doesn't, none of them go right, and instead we're here taking calls on a Vibe Check Tuesday where the vibes are terrible. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, perfect. Hey, nice, great listening to you, man. Listen, man, this offense needs to get it right. Offense needs to get it right. Sam Howell needs to get it right. Eric Bieniemy needs to get him right. Stop dropping the poor kid back. Play some under center. Get the running back. Man, this week I dropped Jahan Dotson out of my fantasy. I dropped Antonio Gibson out of my fantasy. It's like I can't trust this offense anymore. And you know what's sad about this whole entire team? When this first schedule came out, I looked at that Thanksgiving game against Dallas. I need that game to mean something because the more games we lose, what am I going to be happy about?
Your family, so Carlos. Come on, it's Thanksgiving.
I understand that. Sports-wise, what am I going to be happy about? I'm going to smoke a turkey for the whole entire family just so I can watch my team lose. I'm blessed, thankful for my family. But, the Caps aren't doing good. I'm actually on the way to the game right now. So, I can't cheer for them happily as I used to. The era is ending. So, you know what? I'm so glad that Magic Johnson is very vocal about this team. And I know he's whispering, maybe yelling at Josh Harris's ear. We need to do something. And then let me ask you a question when I end this, okay?
Yeah. What's up, Carlos?
That Ron Rivera, how Ron Rivera is, when his back is really up against the wall, because he sounded like his back was up against the wall in that press conference yesterday. Mm-hmm. Will it surprise you if we come out and beat the Eagles tomorrow? I mean, this upcoming weekend.
Not at all.
My call, man.
Yeah, no, Carlos, I appreciate the call. It's a good question to end it with. I was texting with someone on the beat before the show, and I mean, shoot, we said this out loud with Mike Jones last week. The most Ron Rivera thing ever to happen in the 4 years would be for them to lose to the Giants and then beat the Eagles. Like, that's how he's been. But that doesn't make you good. It makes you even more frustrating because it shows that you're capable, but you're incapable of doing it week in, week out. Like Kyle was talking about on his podcast how the messaging needs to be different this week. They need something to shake them, something to wake them up, whether they make a change and do they play Tyler Larson or Ricky Stromberg at center because Gates was so bad. You might have a change at left guard because of injury. Sidney Charles has the strained calf. We'll see what they do there. But it can't just be to me, if Ron comes out and is a different guy this week at practice and I'm a player, I'm like, where have you been? You were Mr. Eric's in charge all summer long, and all of a sudden that we've been embarrassed twice in 3 weeks. It's time for you to come back and take over now? No, man, if you're good at this, why haven't you been involved? That's my frustration with Rivera in a lot of ways. It's he can pull it out of his hat sometimes. And what happened in Carolina was every time his back was against the wall, he'd pull it out and he'd save it. And a couple weeks later, and then all of a sudden they would fall off a cliff again. But by that point, it's later in the season, and you're convinced that maybe next year they can do it for the whole thing. And after a year and a half of that, David Tepper was like, I'm good on that. Get out of here. And then Tepper did a bunch of other dumb stuff to make sure that franchise didn't recover, mainly hiring Matt Rule. But with Ron, would it surprise me this weekend? No, not at all. And by the way, is why I'm so surprised. I know this is backtracking a little bit, Anthony, into the game itself, but like, do you know how the Riverboat Ron thing started?
Like how he got his name?
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't remember what year it was. It might have been 2014, the year before they went nuts and went 15-1. But Ron was on the super hot seat. Like, if you lose this game, you're getting fired. And Ron was getting killed in the press because he was so anti-analytics. He was so, like, in terms of his decision-making, he never went for it on fourth down. And basically, as a bleep you to everyone, is at least what it felt like, he started just, like, being the most aggressive coach. Like, I'm going to go for it on every fourth down. Like, whatever. Screw field goals. I hate my kicker. Like, I just tried everything. And Riverboat Ron was born, and it worked. And next thing you know, he's on a run. Like, and Cam's playing better, and like everything's functioning better. But like, it almost seemed like it was born out of a bleep you to the people that were criticizing him. And he was like, fine, I'll do it your way. See if it works. Oh, it works. And then with his back against the wall on Sunday, 14 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, a 4th and 3 at their own 9, or not at your own 9, at the opponent's 9, you kick it, and it winds up getting blocked, which makes it even worse, but, like, you kick it? It's weird, man, because normally when his back's against the wall, like, that's when he kind of throws caution to the wind. He didn't. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Paul in D.C. Paul, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
All right, thanks, man. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Appreciate it.
And I'm glad that it's today, because when I talk now, I think about the players, the coaches, and all those things like that. But I want to talk about the ownership, my man, because they inherited a traumatized fan base, yeah. And we're going through what we're going through, like watching this over and over and over again, and this guy hasn't said anything. My problem is that open up your freaking mouth, Mr. Harris, okay? Because other than that, I'm one of them guys, man. I don't hang on to no love affair too long if it ain't working right for me. Say something to me. Say we're going to get better. Say anything besides nothing, And listening to Ron talk, man, before I hang up, listen to Ron talk. If we're going to be getting what we're getting from him, the tone and everything that he's talking about for the next 10 games, why the hell do we have to go through this as a fan base? This is why we held up the flag, put parades on and everything for this Josh Harris guy. Magic said one thing, and I don't know if they put a gag rule on Magic or what, but I'm telling you right now, man, I like somebody to talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what's going on. Other than that, man, I'm telling you something right now. I'm not one of those moral guys to go jump on another team. I am a Redskins/Commander fan. I've been that way for over 60 years right now. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't have time for this crap that Harris is doing, my man.
So,
okay?
Paul, I hear you, and I totally understand your frustration. I don't know, like, what is it that you want him to come out and do, though? Is like trash the guy that he's coaching his team?
I don't know. That's one reason why I really can't put it in words what I'm expecting for him to do. But the feeling I want to get out of this relationship is that we're in the same boat. I'm as frustrated as you are. We're going to try to get things better. God dang it, I'm listening to more announcers telling me what's going on than I do the new ownership that we got,
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly I'm looking for him to say in words, but daggone it, say something, Mr. Hoffman,
I hear you, Paul. So I'm gonna let you do the hang up and listen bit, but that's a great first call. Please call back anytime. Here's what I would do if I was Josh Harris. And I'm just gonna say what I would do. I would leak to the press. I would find, and whether it's a John Keim, whether it's an Adam Schefter, whether it's whoever that I decide, Nikki at the Post, pick your person, and you say, this is completely on background. If you ever tell anyone that I said this, then, like, we're going to have a problem. But this dude's dead at the end of the year, this dude being Ron. Like, we're not keeping him. I need that out there. Like, sources close to Josh say this, that Ron Rivera is a dead man walking, that he is a lame duck, and that the only reason he's not getting fired right now is because the candidates that we want to replace him won't be available until the offseason. That's what I would do if I was Josh Harris, to try to placate the fan base. And I know that that's not going to be foolproof, because a lot of fans, for whatever reason, this is a larger discussion about society, are distrustful of reporters and the words sources say and whatever. Josh Harris cannot come out on the record and trash Ron Rivera, because that is the current head coach of his football team. If you do that, you might as well fire him. And I'm going to be really blunt. With what we've seen from EB the last couple of weeks, I don't want him being the interim head coach. Like, EB is clearly struggling to handle the offensive side of the football and in a way that is predictable. He's a first-time play caller. It's 8 games with a new quarterback. Like, there are growing pains that come with being new. And adding more to Eric's plate is a bad idea. So if it's not going to be Eric, which if it's not Eric, then you also open up a can of worms, because you gave him the assistant head coach title at the beginning of the year. I guess Ron did that, and you could always be like, look, Ron did that. Ron's not in charge anymore. Eric's going to stay the assistant, and we're going to elevate Jack because he's been a head coach before. I know none of you want Jack to be the head coach either. But, the problem is they don't have a good current option. And what I would tell Paul is, and anyone who feels that way, is I 1 billion% get your frustration. I keep looking, Anthony, you can verify this as the producer who is on the receiving end of these thoughts in commercial breaks, via text message or in meetings or whatever. I'm terrified of the next 10 weeks of football, because they have off-season problems that can't get fixed until the off-season. I know that now, and I got to try to do shows every single day. And I know a lot of you, while it may not be your job like it is mine, care deeply, and it affects your emotional well-being every single day when this team stinks. But the solutions aren't going to come until February, January, whenever it is they can get rid of the GM, get rid of the coach, get rid of the players that they don't want to be here, and truly start this reset, and kind of what the Wizards are doing, and being like, look, we're building for the future. Hopefully it's going to be a quick turnaround, because there is some talent here. Maybe Sam continues to develop, and that's a good thing, and you get a coach that maybe fits him a little bit better if you don't think that EB is the guy. That's all stuff we're going to talk about later. But the ownership can't come out on the record and kill the coach. They could do it off the record / behind the scenes and make sure that gets out and that everybody knows. But they can't even, the thing I would love for them to do is hire a president of football operations, but whoever they'd want to hire, unless that person's taking a hiatus year, isn't available either. So it's just, they're in a bad spot. And that's so unsatisfying, and it's so unsatisfactory, and it's why the vibes are right now on this Vibe Check Tuesday. But the reality is that we're kind of stuck. I get your frustration. I just don't know that there's a way to resolve it right now. Perhaps a massage. Perhaps going for a nice jog in the outdoors. Something to get your head out of Commander's Land for a hot second. We watch The Voice at night. That's what we do in the Hoffman household. It's a delightful show where people sing and famous people coach them. So maybe check that out. And if NBC wants to send me a check, they can. I'm not endorsing your show for free anymore. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back after this quick look at what is trending, we'll take more of your calls. We'll try to get through as many as we can on this Vibe Check Tuesday here on the Team 980. Overreaction Tuesday with Lynnell coming up in just a few minutes. But let's see if we can skedaddle through a few more calls on this Overreaction Tuesday. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, let's go to Mark. And then we got Peter. We got a couple more calls as well. So, Mark, go ahead and get us started here on this last segment of Vibe Check Tuesday.
What I don't really understand with this fan base, they act like Sam Howell was a first-round draft pick, a second-round draft pick, a third-round, fourth. There's a reason why he went in the fifth round. The knock on in North Carolina was he holds the ball too much. And for the most part, the game pretty much went as expected. You knew Wink Martindale was going to sick the dogs out on Sam Howell. He threw up all himself, and they're going to lose the game. I mean, it was unpredictable. That's why I was able to make a little bit of profit off the game. The only reason that Sam Howell's – the only reason Sam Howell's right now starting for the game, starting for the Commanders, is that Ron realized what he did. He lost his job when new ownership took him in the Carolina. So he's smarter now, so he knows what he needs to do to keep his job. So he presented to the group, hey, I got this young franchise quarterback. I'm coaching him up. I need about 3 or 4 years, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that Sam Howell and Ron Rivera are going to be out the league. Sam Howell's going to be out the NFL next year, and Ron Rivera's going to be out the league as well. Both are going to be out the league there.
All right, Mark.
A quick question, though.
Yeah.
One quick question.
What's up?
What do you think the Commanders' record would be right now if Brissett was a starting quarterback?
Roughly the same. I think it would be probably maybe a game better, 4-3. Like, I don't think most of these games are any different. I think they probably beat the Giants with Brissett. But there's also other games where Sam, like, I don't know if Brissett wins that Denver game. Like, Sam cooked in that game. That was crazy. I mean, how hot he got in the first half against Atlanta. Like, Sam's won them games this year. And to say that he's going to be out of the league, I think is ridiculous. In part because I could see Sam being a long-term backup type that bounces around the league and plays for 8 different teams. I could also see him working through some of this stuff and becoming a starter. Like, he's so intriguing because he's dumb talented. His arm is great. He's got so much moxie, his mobility. Like, there's a lot of stuff Sam Howell does well. It's got to be put in the right box, and I don't think that they have figured that out yet. And I think what's concerning is it doesn't seem to be getting any better week by week. Let's go to Miles. Miles, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show on this Vibe Check Tuesday.
Hey, what's going on, Craig, man? I just want to start with honestly, I don't think Jack has really got enough flack for his defense. Like, we want to talk about us being a top defense maybe the past couple of years or prior. I feel like a lot of that honestly was held up by the run game. And even this past year, like, I feel like a lot of their decisions were just terrible. Like, in the draft, like, I mean, you know, hindsight is 20/20 or whatever, but, you know, having Quan and Emmanuel Forbes both benched as your first and second round pick is malpractice. Like, I don't see anything, and, like, I feel like they should give him another chance. He needs to get back on the field in some way or fashion, because I don't see Benjamin St-Juste doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to tell you straight up, Miles, if you didn't think Benjamin St-Juste did anything on Sunday outside of those 2 explosive plays, like, you didn't watch very much. Benjamin St-Juste was awesome on Sunday.
Definitely, he has the capabilities to, you know, get a couple of pass deflects and a couple of, breakups or whatever, but I just feel like his upside is only so high. I feel like the takeaway he got against the Falcons, I mean, Ritter gives away the ball. It showed last Sunday too.
But Benjamin's a good corner, and Logan thinks he was incredible on Sunday. I don't know if I'm willing to go there because he did give up 2 explosives. One of them is kind of just a ridiculous throw and catch. I mean, he's right there on the first one to Hyatt. The second one, he gets beat on the double move. And he still makes it difficult enough that Hyatt almost steps out of bounds. But, he was targeted 12 times on Sunday. And you gave up 2 big ones. Everything else is you're driving on routes. And, let's put it this way. PFF murders corners and DBs for giving up explosive plays. Benjamin St-Juste gave up 2, and he still had an 89 coverage grade on Sunday. So, yes, the way they've used draft capital in general is very, very silly to me. I'll even go as far as to say it. It's stupid. Like, they've doubled up at a bunch of positions when they have weaknesses in other places, a.k.a. draft an O-lineman that you're actually going to play early. Please, for the love of all things holy, like, just what's so hard about getting studs up front? But at the same time, like, this defense has been pretty good 2 weeks in a row. They were better, like, they were really good on Sunday outside of 2 drives. And that's like, if you do that in the NFL, you're going to be good enough to win most weekends. And this is what they've done every year. Is the first 5 games, they're awful, and then they round into form. And I don't, like, that's not good enough for me. I would have gotten rid of Del Rio last offseason based off of that 3 years running. You can't figure out how to get under 30 points a game against average in the first 5 games. And you wound up doing it a fourth year in a row. But he's pushed them then into top 5 range for the back half of every one of those seasons, between 5 and 10 in the league for the remaining 12 or 11 games, depending on which season you're talking about when they went to the 17-game schedule. So at the end of the day, man, like, barking about the defense this particular week, I think is a bit of a fool's errand, but there certainly are things about that defense that I think that they've done poorly. I think a lot of them are more in the front office than the coordinator's booth. But there's certainly it's taken a very long time to find something that's worked for this group. They seem to have found some more coverage structures that everyone feels a little better about. Hopefully that can continue, and hopefully Forbes can play that stuff and he can get back on the field. All right, that is Vibe Check Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, it is time for Overreaction Tuesday, meaning Lynnell Willingham joins us. He was the guy who said last week Sam Howell's holding this offense back. Was he right? Do we owe Lynnell an apology? We'll talk about it next. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, though. We didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call at Prep to confirm this?
I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority, do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, yeah, we've done it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Aryna Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Aryna Sabalenka! Vamos, 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 vamos! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh,
You change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survival. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Just after 5 o'clock on a Tuesday. And earlier today, Lynnell Willingham, of course, you hear frequently here on the Team 980, was in with Doc Walker for B. Mitch and Finley. And after he wrapped up that show, we sat down for our Overreaction Tuesday segment. And this is how it sounded.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in. Not my beat.
It's Overreaction Tuesday time. That's Lynnell. I'm Craig, as most people probably know, because this is my show. We do this
very
every
much
week.
your program.
You're nice enough to join us every week in this spot. So, last week...
We're just going to get right to it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you had a take that set the internet on fire. Sam Howell,
by the way, that is the purpose of the segment.
I mean, not really. It's just to have a good conversation about football. If it happens to come out that way, like,
that's what happens.
Sure. We'll take the attention on the show. We like people listening. We like it to be sustainable and not flare ups. Like we want a nice slow burn, not a grease fire. But your take was that Sam Howell was holding the Commanders' offense back, and then he went out and played probably his worst game of the season, a game in which perhaps a veteran quarterback, through both mental and physical different decisions or different execution, might have had a better chance of success. So how you feeling about that take from last week?
I still am firm in my belief of it. I think he's holding the offense back. I think Sunday we got to see some other reasons how he's holding the offense back, because the sacks, credit him, credit the offensive line, credit the coaching staff not putting him in position, but I don't think that's really the case. I think at the end of the day, I thought you put it beautifully in your first and 10. At some point, you've got to be able to play NFL quarterback at some level, right? EB can't walk out there and throw the hitch for him, right? And the thing I go back to from Sunday, this has been something that's been the case to me all year long, he's missing the routine plays to me too frequently.
I think that's getting worse. I don't feel like he was earlier in the year. I feel like it's gotten worse. I do think that, like, if you want to isolate the sacks, like play by play, blame by blame, those are mostly on the offensive line. Offensive line, like, and that is different than
yes, and it's a different conversation.
Yeah, it's different than most of the games this year. However, in some of those, if you want to like scope out one level situationally, they're in some bad down and distances because he misses throws earlier in the drive. So, like, and I think you can also make an argument that EB probably could have set them up to success earlier. But, like, I think the big thing that I took away from the game is, like, watching it on film, is the plan was way better than anybody thought it was coming out of Sunday.
Yes.
There was more quick game. There was more max protect. Definitely would have liked to seen a heavier dose of the screen game. Would love to know why they don't use that more.
They waited until third and forever to run it.
In hindsight, I would have rolled the pocket and done some of that stuff sooner. I think, Keim's kind of on this kick with what Terry said post game about getting some deeper shots and take the snap, 1, 2, get the ball out, fade. And there's at least one of those in the first half that like Sam just doesn't throw. The one that he misses to Jahan, where he throws it kind of behind him and the defender gets his hands on it.
Yes.
Like that's an okay decision if you make the throw out in front of Jahan. But the best decision on that one is just it's man to man, like throw the ball to Terry McLaurin against their third corner. Yeah. So I think that like that was a nightmare matchup for Sam. I do think still I'm a little uncomfortable with he's holding the offense back because I think moving forward, like if he plays like he did against Philly last time, again, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's like some other stuff happening. We're just, I mean, on a much bigger level, they are putting a ton on him because of how much they throw the ball, and that doesn't seem like a wise decision because he's a second-year player. I'm not even going to do the fifth-round pick thing because he's a second-year player. And if you want to end that in a summary of, or like if you want to end that in conclusion of he's holding the offense back, then like okay, but
I get what you're saying.
That was a decision made in the offseason.
Correct, and I think that's part of my deeper issue. So Jeremy Fowler of ESPN had a tweet yesterday that I thought was really revealing in terms of what you just said, how much they're putting on his plate. Sam Howell's tied with Jared Goff for the second most passing attempts with 256. All of the other quarterbacks in the top 10 are at least in their third season. So they are essentially putting a hell of a lot on his plate. But when you are openly handing the keys to the franchise to somebody, you got to put a lot on their plate and see what they can digest and what they can't digest, and then you scale it back. Isn't that how you would prefer to?
No, I think that's an overreaction / a miscalculation.
Okay.
Bam, overreaction Tuesday, mission accomplished.
But you get what I'm saying, though?
I get what you're saying. I disagree with the philosophy. Okay. Like, I understand it. It's kind of like hey, let's throw him in and see if he can swim.
Yeah.
But that's not how swimming lessons work.
And that happens in the off season, doesn't it?
Well, it's more so that's just not how swimming lessons work, right?
You drown.
Right.
You'd very much drown.
No. You give your kid floaties first, and like you have the instructor hold them, and like
there's levels.
Yeah, you don't. You don't become Michael Phelps instantly. Like you don't throw a 3-year-old in the pool and be like, "Hey, go beat Michael Phelps for an Olympic medal." And that's kind of what they're asking him to do. Like,
but how much do you
plugging
think,
in Sam where Patrick Mahomes was?
How much of him having to throw the ball that much is a reflection of the game plan or them facing some massive deficits early in football games?
There's some of both. I mean, I do think
that's why I think it's context to that.
Like 70. Like I was looking it up this morning, and then I was on the train ride over here. I was like, oh yeah, the Bears game is in that, right? Like in the last 3 games, they've thrown the ball 73% of the time, but they threw it 55 straight times against the Bears because of the game flow. So that's like a little bit misleading, but the reality is the stats not that different on the year as a whole.
Yeah.
And they've been up in some games, like against Atlanta, for instance. So like those two should kind of balance out. They don't because they just throw the football a ton. And this was a choice that Eric makes philosophically, like, and they organized their offseason that way. They didn't practice the run. And I believe that, like, what Kyle's doing with Brock Purdy, and if you want the best example of all time, it's the best example of all time. Tom Brady did not come out being like a really high-volume passer early. They let him work into that, and then he became Tom Brady. So the idea that, like, in order to be Tom Brady, you have to be Tom Brady immediately is just blatantly not true. Yeah. And even with Mahomes, like, they ran it more when he was younger because they were morphing from the Alex Smith offense. And then he became Mahomes, and they're like, oh, we're going to let this dude cook.
Right.
So I think that you could be easing Sam into it far more, running stuff that's a lot easier for him as opposed to all of this, even half-field read type of stuff, but nevertheless the amount of drop back that they're doing.
So my thing is, and you kind of hit on it, this goes back to the offseason for me with we should have known they weren't going to come out and run the football. And then my thing is, that's not the solution right now to me either, because if you go back and really look at the numbers, and I know there's context to those numbers, they're not running the football well at all right now. Like, they're not a good running team. And I think that, to me, running the football is like a lifestyle choice. You don't just come up week 8 and say, you know what, we're going to be a running team all of a sudden. That's just hard to do, especially when you want to have complex layers to your running game and be multiple with it. I think from a running back perspective, and this may be the overreaction, I think Chris Rodriguez probably has the best vision of any back on this roster.
That's not an overreaction. That's a simple statement of fact.
Like, I think that's why they selected him. I think that's why you're seeing him get more opportunities in this offense. But to go back to the bigger picture of what you said, them putting too much on his plate, I would love to have a breakdown of how much of these passes are actually traveling down the field in comparison to the quick game, because we know the West Coast, all their principles are all for quick game and the screen game. You mentioned we haven't seen the screen game a lot. He's not hitting the quick game stuff consistently enough for me in the past couple of weeks. So if I'm EB, I love what you said. Like, what the hell do I call for the kid?
Right. It's like, and that's the thing, is like ultimately Eric's job is to figure out what is it that I can call that we can be, it starts with Sam, but the O-line, the receivers can be successful at, and it doesn't seem like they found that. Overreaction Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show is part of Not My Beat. That's Lynnell Willingham. I'm Craig Hoffman. You know how that goes. All right. But to the running the ball point, like, I agree with you, and Logan talks about this in great detail on Take Command frequently. Like, if you want to run the ball, it is a lifestyle choice. Mike Shanahan used to always say, like, if you're going to live by the run, you're going to die by the run, because you spend time on it and you scheme it up. And they don't have the attention to detail. For all the talk about EB and attention to detail, and this is quite funny to me because he is a former running back, for all of the attention that they pay to their pass game and all of the detail, they don't have that on the run game. They just line up in whatever formations that they practice.
Normally shotgun.
And yeah, a lot of times it's been gun, and they run Wanda or Zorro or like these different versions of zone
left, zone right,
gap scheme run stuff that they run power. They run all of it. It's just not with any particular extra attention to detail of like, oh, if we move this receiver here, then he can crack that guy at the second level, and this 4-yard run can become a 20-yard run pretty easily. Like they don't do that stuff in the same way that certainly Kyle does in San Francisco, but it's not just Kyle, because I know people get kind of sick of hearing about Kyle, especially with Logan, but like Logan played half his career for Kyle. People that complain about that, sorry. Like Mike McDaniel has taken that with him. Yes. Kevin definitely has some of that although they pass the ball a ton in Minnesota, but I think like LaFleur, like these guys that really run it but also Seattle does this.
And everyone's copying their run schemes.
For sure.
So
and they're like, hey, if we have the receiver crack back on the linebacker, then we make this double team easier because the double team on the offensive line doesn't have to get to that linebacker. Right. It allows for a better block on the first level, and we've taken care of the second level instead of risking both. Like, there's little things like that this team doesn't do. But at the same time, like, they're not bad running the ball either.
No, they're not horrible.
They're average.
Yes.
And that's, I think, an important thing to point out because people want to make it sound like they're averaging 2 yards a carry. Like,
it's like 3.3 or something, I believe.
I mean, they were over 4 coming into the weekend.
Okay.
Now, some of that is Sam scrambles. But, like, the running backs this weekend averaged 3.6 a carry. But you and I both know if you run the football and you, like, do it with some purpose, like,
all that can change quickly. We saw it last year with the team.
Right. You get the second half where all of a sudden guys are tired, you warn on them a little bit, and you bust 2 or 3 big ones that pull your average right back up to 4-5 a carry. Like, you have to live with some not successful runs early to get to the better runs late. And that's something that this team seems unwilling to do. And they don't really have a substitute for it because the quick game isn't very effective right now. Like, Sam's just got to get on that.
So Washington right now is 13th in the NFL in terms of yards per rush attempt at 4.2, which you could live by.
100%. But, like, if you look at the rushing totals, they're probably in the 20s.
In terms of, like, yards
per game. Because their attempts are so much lower than almost every other team.
Yeah, in attempts per game, they are 30th.
Right. So you take that, it's hilarious because like I did this last week where you pull up ESPN.com stats or whatever site you want, and you have yards per carry rank, and then you rank it by that, and then you look at the next column is yards per game, and it's like 180 Dolphins.
Yeah.
Right? And you go down, and everyone's over triple digits, and then there's this one outlier that's in the 80s amongst all the triple digits, and it's the Commanders, who are right there in yards per carry, but simply do not run it enough to accumulate over 100 rushing yards per game. It's wild.
So, and this has also impacted Sam's play action pass numbers to me, which is why I don't feel like they're going to play action a lot because it's not
I don't think
effective.
He likes play action.
Why, though? Do you think it's a short quarterback thing?
Yes, I frankly do.
We had this discussion a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I think
certain things he's not going to be able to do.
I think some of the quick game elements, too. I also love how you've turned this segment around to where you're interviewing me.
Well, look, we'll go left to right.
We'll get more overreaction takes from Lynnell in a second, but I think the Sam stuff is obviously the most important here. But, like, I think some of the quick game stuff, like the pick last week, I think that's tipped. I've looked at it now. I've gone back again.
That's what we were trying to debate on the in-game show.
Barely tipped, but enough that it takes the velocity out of the ball, so it gets picked. That's a short quarterback thing. If Sam's an inch taller, that's not a pick. It might be an incompletion, but it's not a pick.
Sure.
You have some of the quick game stuff that gets batted down. The screen game is harder for a shorter quarterback because you have to loft it over the rush.
And you're inviting pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, of course, you can also throw it out wide to receivers. Like you can, you can swing screen. Like there's different variations of the screen game to get to overcome that. But like your basic, like come on, come get me, let me loft it over your head. Running back screen is really hard for Sam. So I do think that some of these problems are like, and existential feels too strong, but like unsolvable in nature because he's not going to grow. And there just are certain limitations that if I am whoever the next OC is here, if it's not EB because of how things are going, or if I am EB and I'm here next year with Sam, I'm like, you are going to talk to Drew Brees this offseason to figure out how he played quarterback in this league for so long because Drew Brees did all that stuff and he didn't seem to be bothered by the short thing. And they're the same size. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but like I do think some of this stuff is that. And to your point, like the play action stuff, if you turn your back to the defense, right? If you're running it from under center, not these gun fakes. If you turn your back to the defense, you then have to turn back around, whip your head around, and look downfield and get a clean picture quickly. If your picture has a lot of holes in it because you see helmets, it's real muddy, and you don't necessarily see the things you need to see.
You're a nuanced radio host, my friend, because that's real, and like that's part of the reason why I just don't believe he's going to eventually be the guy. Like, we just don't have this laundry list of short quarterbacks that you have to have. Normally, these short quarterbacks have special innate abilities. I don't know what his is to this point. Russell's was the deep ball and the mobility. Drew was pinpoint accuracy. And I just don't really have a lot of
I think Sam
examples.
throws a really good deep ball. I think he's tough as nails. He seemed unflappable until this week. This is also the first week that I've looked in his eyes, like on the close-up TV shots, and been like, that man looks scared.
He always has the, and I
feel like he looks so calm every game until this one.
Normally looks emotionless. I normally can't read him because I just think he has the blank stare.
No, but you're like,
Which
I don't
want
mind
him to have that.
Yeah, but like this week, you look in his eyes, you're like, that is a man who thinks he's about to die.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of really, like, I think he's a phenomenal competitor. I think he's got the right mental makeup, but he would be like, I'm not ready to say I don't think he can be the guy yet. I'm still undecided on that, but I am willing to say the same thing I've been willing to say all along, which is we should be realistic about the fact that if he is the guy, he's bucking a major trend.
Yes.
And that there's probably a reason, and it's not like short person bias.
Now, here's my whole thing, and it goes back to like this offseason where I was like, I want the best quarterback to play. I don't think it's fair to the guys on the roster to have to work through Sam's growing pains and as well as try to win football games. I don't think you could develop a young quarterback and have winning be your most important thing, which is what they're trying to sell us as the plan. I don't buy that. I gave you the analogy before we actually started recording. There's a time and place for everything, right? There's a time to develop a young quarterback. It's not year 4 of your tenure. There's a time to play NBA Youngboy or Lil Wayne. It's not at the 9 o'clock service with your boombox, right? Time and place for everything. It's not fair. I know no one cares about me. For me as a fan to have to watch it, it's not fair for the players, which is why I think, not saying John was like angry at Sam on Sunday, but like that's part of it. When he says it's been 7 years of this, they want to win.
Yeah.
John's been to one playoff game in his 7-year career. Like that's tough, dude. So at some point, I think the organization and Ron missed the boat where it's like, dude, you've had 3 years to develop your own quarterback. Your arrogance made you fire Kevin O'Connell, who was a competent offensive coordinator, made you get rid of Kyle Smith, who's a good talent evaluator, and that was your time to develop the quarterback. You had Dwayne Haskins, who, say what you want about Dwayne and whatever rumors have come out about his work ethic, hands down better prospect than Sam, and had more upside.
Well, I mean, physically, sure, but like
that's all
Dwayne,
we got to go on when we're evaluating in terms of the offense he played in too.
No, but you also have to evaluate the mentality and the work ethic, and like that stuff's really important. And there was a lot of like, let's just say that some of the people you just mentioned weren't exactly psyched about the Dwayne Haskins draft pick, and that should tell you a lot. Obviously, it's always weird talking about Dwayne now, and I really do wonder if he could have turned things around in Pittsburgh. But like this organization, not the place for him. And the previous owner made that happen, and that is 100% on Dan.
But even after Dwayne, though.
But yeah, no, 100%. And they probably should have been more aggressive. I always go back to like there weren't a lot of obvious answers with where they were drafting, who was available free agent wise. Like they in a way like got themselves in a really bad bind. But they probably also could have been more creative in some spots. That's a different show for a different time. The only problem I have with your analogy is, or like not even the analogy, I'll leave the church analogy alone. With your premise here is to say like you can't develop a young quarterback and win at the same time is false if the best chance you have to win is the young quarterback. The development happens. The development happens while he's playing. I think Sam Howell is better most weeks than Jacoby Brissett for what they want to do. Not by much. And I do think that had Jacoby played, I haven't said this to a microphone yet, but I might have said it to you off air. I've certainly said it to others off air. I think realistically, you don't do this. You don't change quarterbacks in the middle of the season. But if you had to win that game, like with your life on the line on Sunday, Jacoby would have been the better quarterback for that game. In the same way that, like, Tyrod Taylor's probably a better quarterback for the Giants with that offensive line and the kind of variance they need. It's going to backfire on them pretty, dramatically. Maybe this week. Because Tyrod does take more risk and he's going to have a 3-pick game. I mean, that wouldn't happen with Daniel Jones. But, like, against a Wink Martindale defense with this group and this coordinator, I think Jacoby gives them a better chance specifically against the Giants. Yeah. Most weeks, I think Sam Howell is the better player and worth the development as he'll continue to get better, and that will become more and more true as time goes on. So, like, I don't think those things are, explicitly mutually on different paths, because if the young quarterback is also your best quarterback, then you are, at which he was in training camp, by the way.
I get that.
Then the development happens. The development happens while you're trying to win the football game by nature of trying to win. What I do think, though, you're correct on is the game plan side of it that I talked about earlier, which is like, are you just saying like, let's put it all on his plate to see what he can do, or are you trying to develop a game plan to win the football game and allowing him to develop within those game plans? And that's where I don't think they're doing the best job.
I just don't know if we have a real answer to that because we haven't seen someone else try to operate it. I think that's why I'm like, and this is technically, I guess, my overreaction for this week.
Let's get one more takeoff.
Go crazy. I think I'm at a point right now where I would be giving Jacoby Brissett first-team reps and maybe start him in your next football game. And people are going to disagree with that.
I'm out on that.
I just feel like I want to see it. It has let's just call it what it is. I don't think the offense has been functional since Philadelphia.
So that is which games? That is
Chicago, Atlanta, New York.
Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta, they were pretty darn good in the first half.
Then they bogged down in the second half, and then they got their first down on Sunday in the second half. Before that, they were 0 of 19 on third down. Yeah, why are they in these third and longs? Because he's taking sacks on first and second down. They're having penalties on first and second down.
Well, I mean, that's a part of it, too. Like, it's really easy to brush by the penalties, and you watch it back, and you're like, God, there's a lot of penalties.
Kills you.
The O-line
kills you.
The O-line had its worst game of the season.
Well, they know
by
Nick Gates is
far.
not.
I mean, like Nick Gates had a terrible, no good, really bad day. Your boy Sadiq did not have a very good day at all.
I actually regret the comment that I made earlier this year. Remember when I said he was going to be a Pro Bowler?
Yeah, that was probably a little premature on your part.
Very premature.
They had a bad day. And that's penalties. That's missed assignments mentally. That's missed assignments physically. Like, it's everything. So, I also feel like the Giants are a pretty unique challenge with how they play defense.
Boy, you played them twice last year when your quarterback situation was not answered. This is my thing with the fan base, and this is why I'm getting off topic here. People are like, yo, I don't want to play Sam because I don't want to bench Sam because we know what Jacoby is, and I want to see Sam grow. Last year, we knew what Taylor was, yet y'all were okay throwing him out on the field.
The problem is he was winning games.
Well,
when he stopped, I think that would have been like, and I think we talked about that at the time. Like, well, shoot, if this is what it is, then just like see what the kid's got.
Yeah, because he was the only guy under contract going into this year. Like, it just
they were in a weird. I will give Rivera this. I don't even want to call it credit, like excuse, whatever. He has been crutch. That's a good one. He has been in some weird spots timing wise, where
he
it's
makes
like
them though.
Some of them, yes, where it's like, but it goes back to the quarterback thing kind of all along. Like last year, they've got a game to make the playoffs against Cleveland. Did he make the wrong decision in going to Carson? Yes, but like if he had gone to Sam there, that would have been nuts. Yeah. It might have been the right choice in hindsight, but like that would have been nuts to give that kid his first career start. Hey, by the way, playoffs are on the line. You want to talk about not fair to the rest of the team? Like he should have gone. He clearly should have gone with Taylor, right? So that's like one of the examples. We talk about them not really having a direct line to draft someone at some point. Like, could they use a second or third rounder earlier in his tenure? Maybe. Sure. Those options are available, but it's not like outside of year one where it was clear they were taking Chase, like Herbert, but they had just drafted Dwayne the year before. So, like, he inherits Dwayne. Like, there's a lot of, like, sliding doors moments in Rivera's
I hate
era.
it that is built in for him because he hasn't.
But
he also handled them better.
Yeah, he also hasn't done anything to like overcome those or be like, hey, we're going to do something dramatically different, and it's going to cause short-term pain, but it's worth the long-term. He's in a league where teams turn it around in 1 to 2 years, like in year 4 of what he hopes is a 5-year rebuild, and that's like
who gets that amount of time? And then it's so frustrating. When
someone whose owner would have fired him if he wasn't under multiple investigations and on his way to being kicked out of the league. All right. If you want more takes from Lynnell, go check out the B. Mitch and Finley podcast. He co-hosted that show today, so check that out in the 106.7 The Fan, or on thefandc.com, your favorite podcast app, whatever. You get plenty of Lynnell takes there, and he'll be back with us next Tuesday here on Overreaction Tuesday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980, which means you can get us on your smart TV, not just on your radio and on the free Odyssey app. So if you get home, you want to keep listening to the show. Maybe you want to catch our interview with Deni Avdija coming up an hour from right now. You can do that by tuning in. We also do our weekend review. What else happened this weekend? Coming up in about 10 minutes. Right now, we go back to kind of what happened yesterday, Anthony. You have the sound pulled up over there?
I do indeed.
Okay, I know you were just listening to it. So I'm going to have you play these as opposed to me trying to pull this up real quick. Because you were actually, you did some producing. So I'm going to let you produce the segment here. But basically, you're very interested in what Ron Rivera said yesterday, where he seemed to be almost using Sam Howell as a human shield, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I'm that's the impression that I've taken from Ron. And I think with most of Ron's pressers, he usually has a theme. And I think yesterday he tried to, play the Sam Howell card a little bit too much. And I just think he leaned on the fact that, yes, he's coaching for his job, but we're struggling because we have this young quarterback who we're trying to develop, and he's the guy for the job. But, his developing is coming so slow.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it from Ron. Do you remember what the exact question was? It's basically like, what's going on with the offense right now?
So the question was sort of kind of along the lines of, like, what makes him believe things will go differently the rest of the season compared to, like, years past.
All right, and here's his answer.
Well, I think the biggest thing, Scott, more than anything else, I think we have found a young quarterback that gives us an opportunity. We were in that game yesterday who had every chance to win, and unfortunately we didn't do it. And I understand our fans' frustration. Hell, I hear it too. Okay, and I respect them. We're trying to play the best football we can and at the same time grow a football team. We're not going to go around cutting a bunch of people, trading for a whole bunch of people, trying to hire a whole bunch of people. We're trying to develop a young football team to be a very good football team for the future, and that's what we're going to continue to work on. We're going to continue to find ways to win football games, and we'll do the best we can. We'll show up, we'll work very hard, we'll do everything we can, and we'll continue to be committed to try and put a good product on the football field and give our fans something to cheer about. But we understand their frustration, believe me, because there's a lot of us that are frustrated here because we're working our butts off.
I mean, I believe every word Ron says there, but he's telling on himself. Like, what he's saying is, we're working really hard, and this is the best we can do. Well, who put this thing together, old Ronald? You did. And like that's it. Like that is Ron telling on himself, or if you want to put it this way, Ron the coach telling on Ron the GM, or whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it. But like I don't think Ron the coach is exactly crushing it either with some of the decision making in terms of global level philosophy of how they want to play. Like you built a team to be one thing, then you hired some coaches that wanted to do some other stuff. You empowered those coaches. AKA, you for 3 years were like, we want to be a run the football team. And then you brought in the most pass-happy OC in the league and let him completely revamp your operation. Any of those individual decisions are fine. Doing them together is just bananas. The first part of his answer is fine, though. Like, to truth be told, Anthony, like, what gives you hope for the rest of the year? We have a young quarterback that I know Sunday was rough, but, like, we think he's getting better, and he's only going to get better, and that should make our football team better. Like, the difference is, in years past, we've had a veteran, and, like, we kind of knew who we were midway through the year. I still think this team has a much higher ceiling, and we got to figure out very, very quickly how to get it there. That's the correct answer to that question if you're Rivera. And I think what he's trying to say, unfortunately for Ron, he's not always the best at saying it. But the first half of his answer was, I mean, in that way was fine. Not that I'm ever really looking to give anybody the benefit of the doubt that hasn't really done anything for 3 years. But that's kind of where I sit. But I also know that he said something later that kind of makes us all really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that when asked about whether or not he could, the team could commit to Sam for the rest of the season. If this season is so much about, seeing what we have in Sam, developing him, why not commit to him? And later in the presser, he was actually asked that question.
Well, I will tell you this. I'm committed to him and we'll see how things go, Ben. But, I can't predict the future, and the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on one game at a time, because the truth of the matter is that's the only thing that matters right now, and that's getting ready for Philadelphia. Once I get done with this conversation with all you guys, it'll be on to Philadelphia.
I mean, what's up with him using old Belichick phrases?
I don't know, man.
We're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Philadelphia. And, I get it. And, he shouldn't commit to Sam. You don't – if all of a sudden in a couple of weeks they've split somehow these next couple of games and they're right around 500 and the rest of the NFC continues to be incredibly mediocre and you have a chance at a playoff spot and Sam is going the wrong direction, you bench him for Jacoby Brissett. That's why you brought Jacoby here. And is that incredibly unexciting for the future because you hoped that Sam would develop into what, your future quarterback? Sure. But you owe it to the rest of the team and you owe it to the fans to try to win. You owe it to the league. You owe it to the competitive nature of what is supposed to happen on Sundays in this league to win football games. And at that point, what do you care about the future? You ain't going to be here. Straight up, he ain't going to be here. So I think that, and maybe his best chance of that not being true is him having Jacoby go on a run and them making the playoffs and winning a couple playoff games. You get there, and who knows once you're in the dance. Maybe your defense, really locks in on the back half of the season. But, shoot, man. It seems like there is a logistical needle that Ron is trying to thread this year that just is completely nonsensical. And the thing that makes it so frustrating and so nonsensical, frankly, is they made the decision basically in January. Hey, that Dallas game was pretty good. I don't know that we're going to find anything better than Sam out on the market. Let's try to build around him and see what happens. That's fine. What'd you do to build around him? You gave him literally zero young talent on offense. You used every draft pick in the first, what was Rodriguez, the fifth?
Yep.
So your first 4 picks are dudes that either play defense or don't play or both. That's crazy. You spent next to no money in free agency. Your big spend was an average right tackle, which is fine if he's joining a much better offensive line, but isn't good enough when this is your quarterback. You knew this was your guy, and you decided to re-sign Deron Payne. It's fine. Deron's an excellent football player, but why did you draft Phil Mathis last year? Who, by the way, your second-round pick from last year is currently just chilling on IR because you don't really have a place for him, because he's not any better than the 5th-rounder that you signed after the Cowboys cut him last year in Week 1. It's just a bad roster construction, and Ron ultimately has to, try to explain that away when he's faced these questions, and I think the reasons why his answers are often so unsatisfactory is because he doesn't have good answers because there aren't good answers. And that's just a sad reality of where we are. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, what else happened this weekend? Playoff baseball and much more. We take a look at the around the rest of the world of sports, not NFL, next on the Team 980.
To warn you, bro, it is a mess in downtown Nashville every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Not even
we moved hotels the next night. I still am waiting on my refund for that. But yeah, we moved hotels the second night.
Wow.
It was fun. You say they rely on them. We went to brunch with my buddy the next day, who is a Nashville native and has lived in Nashville long enough that he remembers when it was more than just the bachelorette capital of the world. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much on the woo girl economy.
Yeah, that's precisely what's going on. The downtown businesses cater to that. If you try to get it shut down, you're probably the one getting thrown out. That is what it is right now. It's weird, but Nashville, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I will add one more small part to this story, and this is the part, frankly, that I've been waiting to tell you all week as well. That was kind of part one. We got quality Yates reaction. Part two, as we leave the hotel the next morning to go to breakfast. Remember, the wall's very thin. So it's not going where you think it's going. But as we walk down the hallway, my dear sweet wife just starts saying in a slightly elevated volume of voice, it's been proven that the later groups stay out and make noise and all this stuff at their bachelorette weekend, the higher the divorce rate.
Oh God!
In the wedding,
So
and also the better
trash,
chances,
basically.
and also the better chances.
Wow. Okay. Okie dokie. So Rachel was pissed, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't have a lot of tolerance for the Woo girls. They say on the internet, like, feel free to post stuff, like your friends' photos, do whatever. But like whatever you do for your own well-being, don't read the comments. Comment section, bad idea. What do?
We read those comments, baby.
That is exactly what we do. That was a little bit better. I still feel like that one was a little muted. I think sometimes it feels like you build yourself up a little too much, and then sometimes you don't
I ain't
quite
want to
go
go
for it.
screaming all the way. The thing is, though, my mic is a little lower than yours, so maybe I could have actually, did what I really.
Mike also moves. You can go, ooh. Did you know you could play tricks with a microphone?
I think I'll try that next time.
Okay. You want to give it another shot? Or you
We read those comments, baby.
There we go. All right. I feel. Coming up at the top of the hour, we will take a deeper dive into the first half of the offense for the Commanders on Sunday, and we'll go through and look at some of the mistakes and see if we can draw any conclusions. But we're going to literally go through. We won't go like super detailed. I'm not going to give you like players and personnel groupings and stuff. That would be horrendously boring radio. But we're all going to go through it play by play, quick. Like, here's what happened. This was the play. This is what went wrong, because there are no plays basically where anything went right. Just a series of 3-and-outs interrupted by an interception. Sweet. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And Anthony, it is time, as that's Anthony Haney, producer of this show. Greg Hoffman here, the host of it. If you are new, welcome. Thanks for coming. Hope you stick around a while for a little segment we like to call What Else Happened This Weekend, where we take a look at everything on a Tuesday that we couldn't talk about on Monday because we were so focused on the Commanders. This one kind of happens last night as well, but you had a weekend full of playoff baseball. Just when you think the Rangers and Phillies are on a collision course, Houston comes storming back and then ultimately forces a Game 7, only to lose. Rangers defeat the Astros 10-4 in the ALCS Game 7 last night. This is a crazy stat, Anthony. Dusty Baker's now 0-4 in Game 7s.
Yeah. and the Rangers manager, I don't know his name.
Bruce Bochy?
Yes, Bruce Bochy. He's 3-0. He's undefeated. So you have the undefeated versus the defeated, I guess.
That's how it maintains.
Yes.
That's crazy. By the way, also, what a wacky story. Bob Melvin. Now, look, we're not going to do a ton of baseball here, but like, what's the deal with Bob Melvin leaving the Padres for the Giants? Like, I thought Bob Melvin was under, let's see, sources. Melvin leaves Padres for Giants after Padres exit. Okay. So he was out in, San Diego granted Melvin permission to interview with the division rival Giants earlier this week, paving the way for the end of a contentious 2-year relationship between the Padres and the 3-time manager of the year. Yeah, so Bob Melvin, who was with the A's for a long time, is going back to the Bay Area as the A's are unceremoniously leaving because their owner's a turd. But Bob Melvin leaving a division rival, and they're just like, yeah, no, it's cool. Like, you can leave. We don't really like you here. It lets us out of your contract. That's kind of crazy. Like, I just can't think of anything else like that happening where a team just says, oh, you want our manager in the division? Go right ahead. You can have him. But that's what happened. College football this weekend. Big upset of the weekend is Utah beating USC. Caleb Williams has never beaten Utah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
He also, there's starting to be a little bit of buzz about, I don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be the number one pick.
Yep.
And one of the stats that's driving that is he has been really poor against pressure this year. His like passer rating against pressure is like 100 something in the country. I think it's 104th, and he's like 4th in the country when he's not facing pressure. So I don't know if you watched any NFL football this weekend, Anthony, perhaps maybe even the Washington Commanders game, but some teams in the NFL tend to pressure.
A lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's early. Williams is seen as a generational prospect. He'll probably still be the number one pick. But there is like a growing, like, I don't know, it's a little closer between Williams and Drake May than people want to recognize from some of the draft folks.
But did you see what UVA did to Drake May and the Tar Heels?
Which brings us to what UVA did to Drake May and the Tar Heels.
Yeah.
UVA's first ever road victory against an AP top 10 team. And it saves Virginia's coach's job, probably. My guy, William Foshi, our producer for Take Command, a UVA grad, was like, yeah, we were probably going to have a new coach if that didn't happen. It happened. So congrats to UVA on the win. That's very exciting. And then kind of the marquee game of the weekend was Ohio State and Penn State. And Marvin Harrison Jr. just open all the damn time. Like he's the guy. And he just is always open. 11 catches, 162 yards, and the game-sealing touchdown. Another big win for Ohio State, who's marching full steam ahead towards the college football playoff once again. Obviously, they've got Michigan still on the schedule. Yep. They have a Big Ten championship game on the schedule, but they are rolling. And, I mean, James Franklin at Penn State, if they didn't have to play Ohio State and Michigan, Penn State would be on a dynasty-type run right now. Their numbers against Ohio State and Michigan compared to everyone else it's wild.
That's what I don't like about the Big Ten, how they split it up like East. They need to take some of these teams off the East because Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, they're consistently at the top. And then you got freaking like, I don't know, Nebraska, Iowa. Like, I mean, those are solid teams too.
Are they?
I'm just saying they're not those top 3 teams on the East though.
Didn't Iowa have something else terrible happen to their offense this year? Or this week? Like they were a disaster again?
I don't know. I haven't watched them closely this year.
Not our Iowa football insider. We'll have to get Dan back on the show for that. Of course, the big story bleeding out of the weekend into tonight is that the NBA is back tonight. Giannis agrees to a 3-year, $186 million extension with the Bucks ahead of that. So that's kind of the big weekend news. Flies under the radar because it comes out on, I think was it yesterday or was it Sunday?
I think today. Oh, it might have been yesterday.
I think it might have been yesterday, but it kind of in the basking glow of the NFL weekend. But apparently the Dame Lillard trade was enough. I mean, if you're Giannis, you take the money, and if you want to demand a trade, you demand a trade. But now you do have less leverage. You can't really hold them and say like, hey, you better do what I want. Or, hey, trade me because otherwise I'm leaving in the offseason. That's a much emptier threat now because you got a couple more years. But it means a lot for the NBA, I think, to be able to say, like, hey, look, every superstar, and especially as our game gets more international, some of these guys don't care about the big market thing as much. Like, Luka very well could stay in Dallas for the entirety of his career, and if he wants to get traded, I don't know that it's going to be to New York or wherever. A guy like Giannis goes to Milwaukee, and he's like, I really like it in Milwaukee. I'm going to continue to raise my family here. Also, he's making $186 million over 3 years, so that probably doesn't hurt things. So really exciting for the Bucks to get that done. Obviously, they're going to be paying him and Dame a ton. How do they build around it? We shall see. They'll have to continue to draft well and get some young guys in there. But the Bucks maintain their superstar and perhaps the best player on earth. That title up for grabs again as the NBA season. And the current reigning champion in that, the NBA Finals MVP, Nikola Jokic, takes on the Lakers tonight in Game 1. Other than that this weekend, did you catch any of the United States Grand Prix, Formula One style?
I did not, but I saw a whole bunch of people wearing like leather jackets. Do you have a leather, Grand Prix jacket?
I do not. It might have been because it was in Texas. It's in Austin.
Oh, I've been seeing a lot of people wearing them lately.
Daniel Ricciardo had a sweet but awful Texas-inspired mustache. But the controversy comes. It's another sprint. I don't want to get too far into it because one, we don't have time, and two, I'd probably go over a lot of people's heads. Long story short, the guys that finished second and I think fifth were two of the most popular drivers in the sport. Sir Lewis Hamilton, yes, he's been knighted, who finished second, and Charles Leclerc from Ferrari, who finished, I believe it was fifth. Both disqualified and failed post-race inspection. Both teams saying, like, look, our cars were set up like everybody else's, but because of how bumpy the track was and kind of the way the weekend was with an extra race, they do what's called a sprint. There was wear on the underside of this car. Their panels fail inspection. So hours after the race, after they've done the champagne shower, handed out the trophies, everybody's getting ready to pack up and head to Mexico City where they're racing this weekend. Hey, by the way, change in all the standings results, those two guys are disqualified, which just sucks. Like, no one's happy about it. The rules are the rules, but the rules stink. One of those situations. And then shout out to the legend, Ali Krieger and Gotham FC. Win their playoff game. They are off to Portland. Krieger, of course, in her final season in the NWSL. The DMV legend from Virginia, two-time World Cup champion, gets to continue playing her club career in its final season. So NWSL playoffs off this week as it's an international break, and then they resume semifinals, finals coming up in early and mid-November. That's what else happened this weekend. When we get back, we will take a deeper dive into the first half of the Commanders' offensive debacle against Los Gigantes de Nueva York. It is genuinely hilarious that you were playing this song, considering it was one of the picks that I got right this weekend, the black and yellow. Anthony,
We did terrible yesterday.
The Niners lost last night. So ultimately, I finished 4-11, something like that.
You finished. Let me pull it up. No,
And then
I
you finished 2 and whatever. I
finished 2-11. You finished 4-9.
Oh, that's the worst week I've ever had picking games.
Let me fact check that real quick, Mr. Hoffman.
I'm 100% sure that's the worst.
Are you sure?
I've barely ever finished under 500.
Okay,
like there's been some.
Oh no, that's the wrong thing. So you're 4-9.
Yeah, no, that's about as. Remember your infamous week 2 last year?
We ain't got to talk about that, Craig.
I think it was a 4-win week.
We do not have to talk about that one.
And of course, I got there because in a week where there were still bye weeks, so I had fewer chances.
Last year, I also had a 4-7 week, and I also had a 5-6 week. Yeah.
But then I got the worst week I've ever had, and I increased my lead by 2 games.
I'm doing terrible, man. Let me add this up.
It's really bad.
56-49. Like
that you're barely above 500. We're not even picking against the spread, bro.
Exactly. 63-42.
Sheesh.
You're doing a lot better than me. You have a 7-game lead over me. God dang.
You want to talk about something that's equally depressing?
You talking about the Commanders' offense? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so here's what I want to do. The way this, let me see if I can make this work without me being awkwardly framed, because the camera, for those watching on YouTube, is on top of this computer screen that I need to be able to actually read for this segment, and it's not really cooperating on the reading part. So hopefully I feel like I look like an old man, like squinting at the screen. But we'll make it work. All right, so what I want to do is relatively quickly run through as much of the first half as we can get through without it being horribly entertaining or horribly like bland, not entertaining radio because I'm reading the box score. But I want to draw some quick conclusions about what went wrong in the first half for the Commanders. In order to do that, we need to actually look at what happened for the Commanders. So, drive number 1, let's get to it. They start the game with a shotgun run up the middle. It gets 1 yard. You don't really get any push. It's just kind of your generic blah. The timing's not great on the run. B-Rob seems to not really thrive in a lot of these gun runs. It requires a level of patience that Chris Rodriguez seems to have. We'll get to it. Second play. This is the one where Nick Gates gets just smoked by Dexter Lawrence. I will say this is like a slightly nuanced thing. Like it's 99% on Nick Gates. The other 1%, there is a little bit of space for Sam to slide in the pocket, and I do wonder if he had better movement skill in the pocket, if he could just quickly duck. But that's on the O-line. Like that's on Nick Gates. Crap. Penalty on Charles Leno goes 3rd and 17 and 3rd and 22. On 3rd down and 22, Sam does a good job. Protection holds. Finds Logan Thomas. It's the only thing that's available. All the deep guys are covered. He gets 15 yards. You get a little bit back, and Tressway has the first of his punts of the day, which Eric Gray muffs, but ultimately the Giants are able to fall on. So that's drive 1. It's basically ruined by a sack on a loss by the O-line. So if you want to put Series 1 blame game, let's go O-line. They didn't really get much going in the run game, and then they compound it with giving up a sack, and Charles Leno gets a silly penalty. So, we good so far, Ant?
Yep.
All right. Drive number 2. This one was very emblematic of much of the game. So, 1st and 10. They go quick game. And this is why I wanted to do this. Because I think a lot of us came out of that game thinking, like, where was the quick game? Where was the max protect? There's no way they ran that stuff. And while there certainly could have been some more rollouts and half rolls and waggles and some stuff earlier in the game, you could have, or they did do some of the stuff that I think really got Sam going in other games this year. He just missed stuff. And so 1st and 10, it's a quick pass to Curtis on like a hitch. On that side, it's 2 hitches, and he throws the wide one to Curtis. It's against off coverage. It's exactly the look you want, and he just straight up misses the throw. So then you get on second down. It's now 2nd and 10. Chris Rodriguez kind of gets you back on schedule. He gets you in a 3rd and 6 with a nice little 4-yard run. Then on 3rd down, like, all right, money down. Oh, my God. We got man coverage across the board. Where's Terry? Nope. Sam tries to throw it to Jahan. It's a bad throw. It's a fine decision. If he puts the ball out in space and lets Jahan run underneath it where there was space, this could have been a big chunk play that could have gotten them basically all the way down in a field goal position. Instead, it's an incompletion, and you're 3 and out, and you punt. So that's a bad Sam Howell series. Next series, this one they got a first down. Sweet. On first down, you actually hit Curtis Samuel on a quick out to the right side. You basically come back to, it's not an identical play, but it's winds up looking very similar. Logan said he calls it lightning. Slightly deeper hitch route. Boom! You hit Curtis Samuel. Quick game. Hooray! Quick game. And what do? You get 18 yards on the play. Then you go to, although the 18 yards doesn't really make a lot of sense because you were at the Washington 38 and then, at the Giant 44. So yeah, you get into plus territory. You run Brian Robinson off tackle. Sweet. 6-yard gain. So now you're at 2nd and 4, right? And you're on the verge of field goal range. You're in great shape. And what happens? Incompletion. They go empty so they can see the blitzers. And this is the one where if John Bates runs a slightly better route, if Charles Leno squeezes the protection a little bit more, or Sam gets the ball out a little bit faster, any of those 3 happen, and you probably have an easy completion, first down. Instead, you wind up in 3rd and 4, another sack, you get knocked out of field goal range, and you were on the edge. You're at the 38, which is like a 56-yard field goal. Instead, you take a sack. Now you're at the 47, and Tressway has to come in and punt. So you see how one simple mistake, you're in a good down and distance, and Sam and the O-line and the receiver all combine to not convert, and all of a sudden, again, you're in bad shape. New York goes down and scores. You come back, and you're now down 7-0, and you start off your next drive with an incompletion. Then you run it to B-Rob again, and you're starting to get a little predictable on like the 1st and 10, not good. 2nd and 10, let's run it. But 3rd and 7, you're manageable, except for Sam doesn't see the blitzer coming off the edge. There's your immediate pressure. That's the sack of the day that's on Sam. And now all of a sudden it's 4th and 15, and you're punting again on a drive that went 3 and out in 1:45 and lost 5 yards. So, I think what you're seeing so far is where the incompletions, where the mental mistakes and the physical mistakes all come together to make this a completely untenable offense. And, while you do have some of the mistakes on the O-line, you also have, and by the way, Logan pointed this out as well. I think the incompletion on this drive might have been the one to Terry that probably could have been PI, if not a hold down the field. But Benjamin St. Juste was handsy all day. In a different game, maybe that looks a little bit different. These are the margins in the league and how quickly little things turn into big things. So next drive, you get going again. You try to run it on first down. Chris Rodriguez. Okay. 2nd down. Sam miraculously escapes a sack and scrambles for 11 yards and a first down. Bobby Okereke is able to chase him down. But that was another one where you have a free runner up the middle and you're like, what are you guys doing? Sam somehow spins out of it. Great. And this is another thing where you're like, okay, that's good, Sam. You get a quick short completion to Jahan Dotson. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're rolling a little bit. We're getting near midfield. And you get a little bit of pressure up the middle. Sam probably has the ball slightly deflected. It's an interception. And that's the end of your drive. So the second you get a little bit of momentum going, you take a sack, you get picked. In these big moments, you need someone, and ideally your quarterback, to make a play. Doesn't happen. And we're already now the Giants go down and score. Next time the Commanders get the ball back, we're already halfway through the second quarter, and that's been the offense so far. You get Robinson up the middle. Nothing. There's the deep shot to McLaurin on second down. Probably should have been a penalty. You don't get it. Then you come back and you have a delay of game on Washington. So you go from 3rd and 5 because you have a good positive run on first down from Brian Robinson to a 3rd and 10, which Sam throws down the field to the right side and nothing comes of it. It's incomplete. Then you get the fumble on the punt, but ultimately that doesn't matter because there's a penalty on Tariq Castro Fields. Penalty's offset, re-kick, and off you go. They get the ball back again. No gain on first down, plus a holding penalty. Now you're in 1st and 20. Incomplete to Robinson. Quick game to get you back to at least 3rd and 10. But you're in 3rd and 10, and sure enough, Dexter Lawrence gets a sack. Then your final drive of the half. Short completion to Logan Thomas. Sam sacked again. Incomplete deep shot to Samuel, and you punt. And that's an entire half of football. You had some opportunities, but every single time you get in a good down and distance, you have a penalty, you have a bad incompletion, you have a mental mistake by either Sam or the O-line, and there were more from the O-line than there were from Sam in terms of protection. That causes you to take a sack, and you get knocked right back out, and the penalties absolutely killed them. And that is how you have a 0-point half of offensive football. We'll take your calls on where you guys think the problems are next. 301-230-0980. And then our interview with Deni Avdija coming up at 6:30. Deni fresh off his extension. Let you hear from the Wizards forward just about 24 hours before he takes the court for the season opener. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, and we're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Did you not turn my mic on? What was happening there?
That was on me.
Okay. Okay. Is that a fine?
Oh, you just I don't think it's a fine, to be honest.
Why do you not think it's a fine?
It's a great question. I mean, I might as well take the fine. It's okay. We're already at the end. We're gonna be splitting lunch. It is what it is now.
I say that's gonna be a 5. That's gonna be a 5-er.
Okay, so we have 45. So we still got 5 more points.
You still have to commit another infraction to get us
Oh,
over the line
me,
here.
not you.
I mean, I'm not going to. I'm gonna play a good, clean game. That's at least what I'm gonna tell myself.
All right, that's fair.
45.
We gonna see. We gonna see what you're made of.
Yeah, probably an error. That's just kind of how things go. That's a 95. All right, yeah. So that's updated to the fine board, which needs to be updated in general because it's the writing's starting to fade, which I think is a good sign. Yeah, there's the fine board. We're at 95 fine points. If we get to 100, Anthony and I buy lunch. We then take these numbers here, the number of fine points accumulated by each of us. That becomes the percentage that we pay, and we are on pace if Anthony is the next infractioner to split lunch 50-50. Or I'll be paying 55-45.
Yep. And I think I prefer that one.
Yeah,
The
of course you
latter,
do.
you know.
By the way, what didn't we split the last one 50-50? Isn't because like we owe ourselves one right now.
Yeah, that's the one we. No, the first one. So we've only had one lunch so far. The
Right.
second one we still haven't done yet.
Right.
And this is the third one.
Right, and it's that one's going to be 50-50, right? The second one?
That's a great question, Craig.
I'm pretty sure it was 50-50.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'm willing to take it 60-40.
I'll take your word.
I'm willing to take it 60-40.
I think you're an honest man.
I am. I don't have the world's best memory, but I do try to be honest. Our interview with Deni Avdija coming up in just a few minutes. Nobody's called in on the Commanders' offense. I think people are tired of the Commanders' offense.
People have seen enough, Craig. They've seen enough.
He almost pooted on himself.
Yep, that too.
That's the Commanders' offense.
Yep.
You want to talk about the NBA tipping off tonight instead?
I mean, we can get some predictions in, to be honest, Craig.
Oh, I like that call.
We can get some predictions in because we haven't got them in yet.
Okay. I don't know why that was so intense from you, but sure. Let's do some NBA predictions, and then we'll get to Deni, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Hold on, let me get my little notepad. I have all these sticky notes up here.
Yep.
People can't really see, but got the football.
Oh, what are our football predictions? Let's run back through them. How are we doing on those? The midseason check-in.
Okay, so here we go. For MVP, I have Lamar. You have Burrow.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's advantage you for sure. Although maybe Burrow, puts it back together, but that's not looking good right now.
For Offensive Player of the Year, I have McCaffrey. You have Jamar Chase.
Jesus. I was real high on the Bengals, huh?
Yep. For Defensive Player of the Year, I have T.J. Watt. You have Micah Parsons. I think I'm closer.
You're definitely closer.
Between him and Myles Garrett right now, two-man race.
Yeah.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have C.J. Stroud. You have Bijan.
Bijan cannot get sick. I might have a chance.
Yep.
But Stroud's been awesome.
Defensive Rookie of the Year, we both chose Forbes.
Just a bunch of dumb idiots.
Yeah.
Just a whole bunch of gigantic.
Don't rip your hair out. NFC champs, I have the Eagles. You have the Niners.
Okay, we're both in good shape. I mean, after last weekend or this past weekend, like you look like you're in better shape, but I still feel good about mine.
AFC champs, I have the Bills. You have the Bengals.
I feel better about mine than yours, to be honest. Like, I know the Bengals have struggled to get off the map, but like, that's kind of what they've done. But like the Bills, I mean, you didn't know Matt Milano was going to get hurt, so
yeah. Super Bowl champs, I have the Eagles over the Bills, and you have the Niners over the Bengals.
If you could re-pick that right now, mid-season update on let's just do the conference champs and the champs.
I would probably still lean Eagles NFC champs because they just picked up Kevin Byard, who's an all-pro, top 5 at his position.
I agree with that. I would probably switch it.
And then AFC I don't know. I think the Chiefs are slowly but steadily finding their stride.
Can they really just do it again?
Rashee Rice has picked up his production. I think that's what Mahomes was trying to figure out. He was trying to figure out if it was going to be Sky Moore, if it was going to be MVS, if it was going to be, somebody, in the receiving room.
Yeah,
Kadarius Toney.
They just got Mecole back, who's like a good floor piece for them.
Yeah, but I think Rashee Rice is the guy opposite of Kelsey that he's going to be able to rely on. So I would probably say AFC Chiefs, just because I think they're hitting their stride now. And then I would still go Eagles over the Chiefs. I think they're winning this year.
I think that feels right, to be honest. Like, if I could change it. I mean, Kansas City, it's like the other team that I would consider is Miami, and they've not beaten anybody in their weight class yet.
Miami's good, but when you get pressure on Tua, it's curtains. They can't operate. That's why the Bills beat them. That's why the Eagles, did what they did on Sunday night. It's just, and the thing is, they've invested so much money in their offensive line, but if Tua doesn't have the time to, hit Tyreek on a crosser or, the holes aren't opening up for Mostert. Also, they're missing Achane. I want to say his name correctly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you're probably right. I think the Eagles are starting to find it, and I think the Chiefs have won 6 in a row since they lost to the Lions at opening night.
Yep.
And they've got the 4th best point differential in football. The other team that's sneaky is Baltimore.
Yes. People aren't talking about them enough. Lamar?
Well, we're going to see where they are on Thursday when we get to our tiers.
Yep.
All right, quickly, because this Deni interview is kind of long, and I want to play all of it. So, quickly, NBA predictions that go on the sticky note.
We definitely need an NBA champion.
Well, we need conference champion. We need MVP, conference champion. Rookie of the year is Wemby. Yeah? Are you going to take Scoot?
You're overlooking Chet Holmgren.
No, I'm not. It's Wembanyama.
Okay, it probably is going to be him.
All right, good. Glad we got that out of the way.
I'm going Chet though.
Okay.
You can go Wemby. I'm going Chet.
Okay. MVP.
That's the hardest one. I'll let you go first.
Giannis.
You're going Giannis?
Yep.
I'm going to go Luka Doncic.
Okay. I don't think the Mavs are going to have a very good year. I think Kyrie is a cancer. Two teams that he is on. It's not, I know that sounded really personal, but when he shows up places, it doesn't go well. So and they got way worse with him last year. And I think it's not just like what he brings to a locker room, where he can be a good teammate for sure. There's definitely people that love him in the league. But like his style of play and his lack of defensive prowess, a lot combined with Giannis's lack of defensive prowess, is a problem. So I'm going to go Giannis, and then Western Conference champs.
Lakers for me.
I don't hate that.
I'm going Lakers, man.
I'm going to go Denver again.
Okay.
And then in the East,
I'm going Bucks in the East.
I'm tempted to go Celtics. I'm going to go Celtics.
Okay. Drew Holiday, is he the one that's going to get them over the hump?
That's the difference. Like, they needed a defensive something with, like, trading for Porzingis and everything. I think Boston can do it. Milwaukee's going to be so good.
They have too much over there, man.
But
they stay healthy.
That's the thing. Is like I think Boston's a little deeper. All right, that's what I'm going with. I'm going Boston over Denver. I'm picking the Celtics to win it.
Wow, Celtics are your champion.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going Celtics. I'm going Lakers.
Celtics over
Lakers in 6, Craig.
All right, thanks, Homer. When we get back, our chat with Deni Avdija here on the Hoffman Show. All right, it is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Your home, of course, for Wizards basketball. Tomorrow this time, we'll be getting ready to hand it off to Dave and Glenn for the season opener. Big news for the Wizards this weekend. They've signed Deni Avdija to a 4-year contract extension, and we've been waiting for this Wizards opening week to play you all of our interviews from Wizards Media Day. And so during Media Day, we sat down with Deni, and we talked to him. You'll actually hear him answer questions about like what it's been like to kind of have the contract looming over him. Obviously, his answers will be different now because he signed it, but you can hear what it was like for him to prepare this summer without that contract. We also have some fun, extremely goofy nonsense at the end with Deni. Kyle Kuzma crashes the interview. It's also worth mentioning that considering Deni's homeland, like this was recorded before the war in Israel started. So we talk about how beautiful that country is and what it's like to live there for him and be there in the offseason. But all that, just want to put it in the context of the conflict in the Middle East had not started at that time. This is a little bit older at this point, but still worth playing as we get ready for Wizards season here on the Team 980. So without further ado, here is our chat with Deni Avdija from Wizards Media Day. All right, continuing and wrapping up our Wizards Media Day coverage here on the Team 980 and 106.7 The Fan on YouTube with Deni Avdija. Deni, good to see you.
Buddy, good to see you.
So how's your offseason been? How long have you been back in the States?
Wow, I've been in Israel for like 3 months, and then I came back a little earlier to the States. I'll say beginning of August, and then I stayed here for 3 weeks, worked out, and then came back home for around 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then came back here.
How long does it take you to adjust time zones and everything?
I'm really easy now. Like I know the technique and how to do it. And
what's the secret?
First of all, like not sleeping on the flight a lot, which is hard, but you know, you better do that than staying up all night and back home. So
yeah, I got you.
And that's about it.
All right, that's take notes. Go to Israel. Don't sleep on the flight. Although I feel like on the way there, is it different on the way there versus on the way back?
Like time wise?
Well, I'm saying like the technique. Like, do you want to sleep on the flight there and not sleep on the flight back?
So no. So flying from Israel here, you don't want to sleep. So
right.
So let's say I fly from Israel and let's say like 11 p.m.
Okay.
I get here probably around 4 p.m. or like 3, something like that, or 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then I won't go to sleep immediately, even if I'm gonna be exhausted. Like
yeah, you got to make it. You got to make it so you sleep through the night.
That's
American
what I'm saying.
Time. Yeah.
I gotta make it till 9:30 at least.
Right.
Then I'm not
going to Israel from DC.
Going to Israel, I feel like you do need to sleep a little bit.
Yeah.
You need to sleep more. But it's easier. I feel like
right.
it's easier for me to adjust there.
It's kind of like when you fly to Europe. It's the same direction. Or like you fly California to here. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
You can kind of do the red-eye bit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Taking our notes.
Cool.
Now, you weren't the only one, though, that took that flight. A couple of your coaches, I know, like Zach Guthrie, one of your assistants, he went over and saw you in Israel. What's it like for you to have those guys come over and work with you?
Amazing. It was exciting because they finally saw like where I'm from, or like my culture, or like what do we eat, how do we treat each other, like, you know, the love in the air and like the fan support. And I feel like it's important for people to see where I'm from, because then they can understand me, you know, and where I'm coming from, and honestly, like how to be more connected to me.
Yeah, so, absolutely. That's been connectivity has been a big word. You know, obviously it's always kind of a thing, but like I feel like Will and Michael, and especially Will, like that's his thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I love what the front office is doing. Like they're asking questions, they talking to us, and they making sure that we feel comfortable and we have the best environment to succeed. And I feel like if it starts from there and we are happy and we're playing good, everybody's happy. So it's a good mentality to have.
No doubt. So I'm going to ask the uncomfortable, silly question, elephant in the room. We all know that it's contract year for
sure.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And in talking to players in the past about it, it's kind of like, yeah, when you're out there on the court, like you don't think about it. But maybe during the off season as you're training and like you're trying to find that extra motivation, like that's maybe in the back of your mind. For you, was that the case at all?
Maybe it's good. I mean, obviously, I always work hard, no matter like my first year, my second year, no matter what happens. And but like having a contract, yeah, it gives you a little additional boost. But I feel like I'm just acting like I'm Deni. You know what I'm saying? I'm not changing anything I'm doing. I know what I'm capable of. I know my abilities and my quality on and off the court, and I feel like obviously I like the city, but you know, like I don't really want to anticipate what happens. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be smart whatever I do, but I don't want to anticipate and I don't want to talk before everything happens. So I'm cool right now. I love the new guys. I'm settling. I'm working hard, and that's what I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, whatever happens, happens.
Yep.
You know, you play well, it takes care of itself.
Appreciate it.
So when you hear about kind of the basketball stuff that they want to bring in, and Wes talked about this with us earlier, like the word he uses, modernize. I want to modernize the way we play. I want to play faster. You know, we want to shoot more threes. We want to get after it. Like, how do you feel like you fit? I mean, you're a guy that runs the floor extremely well. So, like, how does that faster tempo and the new style fit you?
As having Turbo as my new nickname, it really like it made a smile on my face, like seeing play faster, because I do push the pace a lot and I like doing it. And like finally, if it's gonna be part of our system, it's obviously gonna help me put a lot of benefits. But honestly, I think Wes is doing a great job of like learning the tactics, know how the team's gonna run, and obviously we're young, we're fast, we have a lot of talent, and there's no reason for us to not run. So I feel like it's a good.
Yeah, hopefully that continues to get a few more threes for you guys generated as well. Besides just shooting a lot, is there something specific you can do to help improve your shooting during an off season where you can see a jump in percentage?
Mentality. It's like shooting on days that I don't feel good, on days that I'm tired a little bit, on days that my mind is challenging me to make shots. You know, even though playing a lot of games versus like all the games I'll play like shooting, but I'm not shooting versus other people. I'm shooting versus myself. You know, like, this is the hardest competition.
Like a beat the pro kind of thing.
It's like beat myself.
Yeah.
You know, that's the hardest. Like making like let's say 7 in a row and 5 spots, but you know it can take you 10 minutes and it can take you like 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? But being there 2 hours, that's where you're like, okay, that's where you try to beat yourself, because it's a tough opponent. Be there 2 hours, your mind is like, damn, I'm not making like that's where your mentality needs to be better. And I feel like I did a lot of those stuff during the summer, and hopefully it's gonna benefit.
How you continue to evolve, you know, defensively has kind of been your calling card here. Like, you know, how much time do you spend in the off season defensively, which is something that is such it requires another person to practice on some level, but also it's very team oriented. So how do you practice that skill set and keep it sharp during the summer?
It's tough to work on defense. You should work on your body, on your athleticism, and I did it all. You know, how explosive I go, and how to use my feet better when I slide on defense, how to be more upright so I won't foul as much. You know, stuff that I need because I know how to defend. You know what I'm saying? I'm smart enough to defend. I know the scouting report, like I read it. I know the players by now. And it's just like the experience makes you better, the body being better, it's all come to a play. So I feel like you don't need to really work on defense in terms of like, okay, playing defense, but you do gain everything from doing kind of everything.
Yeah, no, and talking to some people, I'm excited to see what you guys can do out of that end of the floor this year, changing up a few approaches. I think that was an off-the-record conversation I had, so I'm not going to get into the tactics because I don't want to get in trouble.
No,
and I don't want to get you in trouble either.
No.
Deni Avdija with us, staying out of trouble here on the Team 980. I know KP was kind of a big brother for you. You know, so how does kind of where you sit in the locker room change, losing that guy as a mentor? Is there someone else that you talk to a lot that gives you advice, or are you like, okay, I take what he taught me and I'm ready to step into a little bit more of a leadership role myself?
It's going to be hard for Porzingis to hear it, but like Gallinari was kind of like he shows me a lot of similarity in terms of the relationship I had with KP, which is really funny. Like I remember how I established a relationship with KP, and I can see Gallo as like my big brother, like who really understands where I came from, because he came from Europe too. So it's great, and I just wish the best for Porzingis. Honestly, like I want him to win a championship. I want him to be in a good team, and he had his part. He made me feel at home. He made me feel good, and I feel like that's part of life. Obviously, I'm going to stay in touch with him, but I wish him all the best.
Yeah, that's part of life in the NBA for sure. By the way, his championship odds got a little better this week. The Drew Holiday trade. Good gracious, they're going to be not very fun to play. I mean, fun as a competitor, obviously, but chances of success obviously got a little bit harder. I think the partnership between you and Kyle is so interesting from a basketball standpoint. You're similar size players. Occasionally you guys operate in similar areas on the floor. How has the evolution gone to continue to learn how to maximize both of your abilities when you're on the floor together?
I feel like you establish a relationship on the court and knowing how to play off each other. Obviously, like I'm going to be anchored defensively, and he really is going to be creating a lot offensively. But I think like us working together and being in the team for a long time, he cares about me, I care about him, and I think we're going to have a good year, honestly.
All right, last couple of things for you. First, who do you got in the WNBA finals?
Liberty.
Wow, so many people are picking New York.
I mean,
they're great. I'm surprised that everyone's because Vegas is the favorite.
Yeah, but I mean,
New York's great.
Yeah, New York's good. I feel like just like they're exciting to watch. You know what I'm saying? They got some good players.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously Sabrina.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah,
and that's Vegas pretty exciting too.
I mean, yeah, sure. I'm rooting for Alicia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
she's been here, so
yeah. Okay, that'll help you with her for sure. Although she's still going to be very mad that you picked New York. All right, and then last but not least, we're doing this with everybody. Deni will be the last participant of our Whiz Quiz because we're a sports talk radio show, and that's as creative as we could get with the title. All right, series of fast, quick hitting questions for you.
Okay.
All right, favorite vacation that you've been on?
Wow, damn. Wow. Like people are gonna laugh, but I don't really go on vacations.
Okay.
Like I feel like home.
I mean, you live in a place where people, go on vacation.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm so busy going everywhere here that like when I come back to Israel, I don't want to see planes. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I want to sit on the beach, eat delicious food.
That's all I need, though.
Yeah,
that's all I need. I'm gonna have time. I feel like when I have family and I'll be a little more mature, I think that's when I'm gonna pick up my vacation spots. But
okay, do you have a place? This is our second one that we've been asking everybody, and it feels like the whole world is open to you. Do you have a place that you want to go on vacation that you haven't been yet?
Maybe Central America.
Okay, that's a great call.
Yeah,
that's a great call. I went to Costa Rica a long time ago.
There you go.
Fantastic.
There you go.
Highly recommend.
There you go.
All right, what's your coffee order?
Depends.
Okay.
Morning or evening?
Oh, you're a morning. Both. Culture us.
So in the morning, I usually drink stronger coffee. I'm gonna say.
Are you like a big coffee guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Like.
Okay.
I'm gonna say espresso in the morning, and then I'm gonna have a cappuccino in the evening because I like to sip it. I like to sip it a little longer, but that's about it.
Okay. Teammate you trust the most to drive on a road trip?
To drive? Drive,
like if you were like, hey guys, we're going on a road trip for the weekend, who do you want to drive?
Anthony Gill.
Okay. That's been a very common answer. Here's the scary one. Who's the least likely to drive?
Me.
Okay, that's literally every single person said you.
People said it, right?
Yeah.
People said me?
Yeah.
How many people said me?
I think we're 5 for 5.
What? You're crazy.
You said you. Why are you surprised? You said you.
Under the bus? That's crazy.
I will say Corey. Actually, no, I apologize to Corey Kispert. I think you're only 4 for 4 because Corey refused to answer the question.
Yeah, because he didn't want to throw me under the bus.
That's exactly what he said.
I respect you, Corey.
All right. I mean, look, man, if the answer
Coach was saying that too?
Okay, no, Wes, I didn't ask Wes the question.
All right. But if you see me driving around D.C., just know I'm sorry. Like, I love you guys.
All right, we'll talk to Michael Winger about getting some driving lessons for Deni. All right, best and worst on the aux in the locker room.
Wow, worst? Wow, who's worst? I'm going to say Kuz on worst.
That's hilarious because he said you.
Really? Yo, he crazy. That's insane. I'll tell you why. Because everybody who comes to the weight room while I'm lifting, they're like, Deni, I like this music. Because I'm listening to house, you know?
Okay.
A lot of like kind of like summery vibes music.
Yeah.
Like, everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And Koo's always hating, like for some reason.
Or
he loves the vacation spots like Greece, all those places. But then when they play the music there, he's cool with it. But when I play the music, like he's not cool with
it's
it.
It's not what he wants in the weight room,
crazy.
I guess.
Who's the best?
Who's the best? Had a lot of different answers for this one.
Wow. I'm gonna say AG.
Okay, that's one we haven't gotten yet. I like it.
I'm gonna say AG. Well, who you had mostly?
Koo said himself, which is hilarious.
Okay, so now it makes sense, right? Like,
yeah. Well, now I mean, I guess you guys just have different tastes in music. I think that is that's valid. JP got a vote. I'm trying to remember who else. But AG
I didn't get a vote.
No, you have not gotten a vote yet. But you know, at least we know where you're like. We know where to go if we want a very specific kind of music, though.
That's cool.
Like you're an expert in your area. I think I think there's something to that, Deni.
It's cool. I'm gonna like my music no matter what. So
as you should.
Yep.
Hey, look, it's art. Art is subjective. Yep. It's in the eye of the ear in this case of the beholder. All right, last question for you. You get one shot outside the paint for $1,000. Where are you spotting up?
Outside the pin, nowhere.
Yeah, you the obvious correct answer for you as a 6'10" basketball player. If I said anywhere, would be like I'd like to dunk it. So I'm taking that away from you. Anywhere outside the paint. Yeah, outside the paint.
I'll go and float it like floater.
Okay, from right outside the paint.
Like right outside the paint. But like,
do we want to just have the full music?
I got the worst.
The full music fight now.
How is it possible? You go into Greece, you're hearing all my music there. You're fine with it. But then when you go into what?
Like you don't have no change up. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to get that mix.
I do have a change up. You're crazy. You're not in, you don't listen to my music enough. You don't listen to my music enough. I chose you for the worst one too, so we're even.
I actually chose you for the worst car.
Everyone chose him for the worst driver.
No,
you know who else chose him for the worst driver? Him.
Oh, definitely.
At least we know.
I love you.
And that's how we wrap up our Media Day coverage. Deni Avdija, appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are wrapping up this here edition of the show. Tomorrow, a Wednesday, means Clinton Yates joins us. We'll have the World Series matchup set. We'll talk to Yates about that, get his thoughts on the Commanders. We will do Never Read the Comments, which we could do entirely from 1st and 10 yesterday. Anthony, last time I checked, there was 145 comments on that video.
Oh, my goodness. 145?
People were not psyched about my initial take on the game. So there's that.
So are you going to be playing defense tomorrow?
I mean, I guess we'll find out. We're going to keep things on offense right now, close out the show with real things real people said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to suck this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
We probably got time for one of these, maybe two. Anthony, which one's the funniest one? What's the best one?
The best one. You put me on the spot. I would say the
Charles Barkley one looks like it could be pretty funny.
Yeah, Charles Barkley is actually pretty funny.
How long's that one? That's
like
really
30
long.
seconds.
The other one that I wanted to play was really long. All right. By the way, Charles Barkley, we didn't have time to pull this because it just happened. Charles Barkley grilled Adam Silver on the NBA's domestic violence issue, and it was fantastic. Good job, Charles Barkley. We might play that tomorrow. On a much lighter note, Rocky, the Nuggets mascot, gave Chuck a gift on Nuggets ring night.
Figure out what a mascot is trying to relay.
Thank you, Rocky.
Yeah, open that up.
No, it's a...
no. Go ahead, Chuck. No. Go ahead, Chuck.
I don't know what that's been.
Ring night, Chuck. It's ring night.
I'm not putting that in my mouth.
So here it is.
No.
It's ring night.
I'm not putting that in my mouth.
Chuck, take a look.
It's not happening tonight.
No, it's ring night.
I'm not saying. I know. I'm not putting that in my mouth. Stop it.
No one asked you to put it in your mouth. Man. Say it again, Chuck.
Nope, not happening.
I don't trust Rocky either, Chuck.
Thank you.
I don't trust him either. We appreciate you stopping by, Rocky. Thank you.
It was a ring pop.
Yeah, that's so messed up. I mean, I guess it's a nice gift.
Inside the NBA is back, everybody.
Yes, they are.
Oh, my God. They are back in full force. What absolute chicanery that show brings. Nuggets and Lakers getting going in just a little bit. Then tonight you got Warriors and Suns. I think it is, I'm just going to say it, it's hilarious that Bradley Beal's not playing. Starts his son's career with an injury. Oh, he'll be in street clothes. How familiar. That's it for the show today. Everyone have a great rest of your evening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.